And if I had to be another person to stand up, if I think, after really going through this, and looking at the files and looking at the case, if I really feel that Karen Reed didn't do this and I have to be a voice that stands up and helps, I will.
We are expecting to learn more about the allegations against the girlfriend of a Boston police officer who was found unresponsive in the snow Saturday morning. I-Team sources say Karen Reed was in a relationship with John O'Keefe. She's facing charges including motor vehicle homicide and manslaughter.
We're the only ones fighting for the truth of what happened to John O'Keefe. And me and my family and my attorneys and my team have marshaled every resource to get to the truth. It just feels like no one else wants it.
Now, just to be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
And no, she didn't do it. No, she didn't do it. This is an innocent woman. She didn't do it.
I tried to save his life.
Yeah.
I tried to save his life at 6 in the morning. I was covered in his blood. I was the only one trying to save his life.
Why do you admit to it?
She didn't admit to it. She didn't admit to anything close to that. Nothing close to that. And you should know that.
That was like 3 or 4 times she admitted to it.
No, she didn't.
That's not true.
She asked a question. She asked a question, which is very different. She didn't admit to anything.
I'm going to tell you one thing. Karen Reed's not going to fold. Karen Reed's not going to give up. Defense team's not going to quit. The Free Karen Reed movement is going to continue. We will continue to raise funds for her. We will continue to do standouts across Massachusetts, across the nation, across the world to let everybody know what's going on here in the state of Massachusetts, the corruption. And we will continue to get the word out there. Believe me. Believe me. Wow. Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome into Let's Talk Live here on the LTL Media channel. I every time I go live, it's just craziness. There's so much that's happening over these last, I'd say, 3 weeks. It's so hard to keep track of everything. But tons of new motions today. We find out about witness lists today. We hear about Trooper Proctor. It's nuts. It's crazy. I can't get my head wrapped around everything. But at the end of the day, we know that it will all get sorted out because Karen Reed has the defense, the best defense team on this planet. I truly believe that. And, in AJ, we trust. In Karen Reed's defense team, we trust. But again, welcome in, everybody. It's nice to see the moderated subscribers and members here today. Just on the kind of the heels of last night's show, I had such a great time over on the Young Jerks. I had some laughs at the end of the stream. It was really great. We saw Mike take his shirt off we raised almost $5,000 on that channel. And I said, I got to come live with my audience tonight. Let's try to continue a little bit here of the fundraising because Karen Reed's going to really need this going into this trial. And it's going to be heavy. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a battle. You have a very cagey snake, Spank Brennan, working for the Commonwealth. Is going to try to do every cagey snake trick that he can in the book to try to silence the First Amendment, to try to silence free press. We've seen what he's done to Aiden now. He's being called as a state witness. But isn't it funny? He's now a state witness. What if the McAlberts turned around and said something about him online or said something to him in person now? Wouldn't that be witness intimidation? So we're gonna get into a little bit of that. And then obviously tonight, the mainstream, the heart of the show is we're gonna go over one Brian Albert's testimony, the lies of Brian Albert, and we'll get into that tonight and try to raise some money for Karen Reed's defense fund tonight. If you can, my friends, while watching this show, there's a link that is clipped to the top of my chat. Please click on that link. And if you can, just $5, $10, $20, $100, whatever it may be, let's donate to Karen Reed's defense fund and make sure you put in your comments LTL or LTL Media, and I'll try to track them throughout the show and see what we can raise here. And of course, any super chats, any Cash App donations, anything that comes through this channel as far as monetarily, I will donate 25% of that back to Karen Reed. Let me just do this first. We have She Rage Knits has become a new YouTube member. So kicking it off, I'll start that off with $5. I got my little notepad and my pen here. I'm going to keep track of it. And then Sophie jumping on and saying, thanks for everything that you do, and we're proud of you. I appreciate that, and I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you all for helping us here and, keeping this channel alive and well and thriving and trying to do the best that, we can collectively on this platform. So Scott McGinnis checking in, a moderator. Look at this, member for 15 months. Thank you so much, Scott. Very kind of you. Says, Hank just being a pain, making TB a witness vile. Yeah, and isn't it funny? Wasn't Gretchen Voss a witness, and she was pulled in to testify or had an attorney, and she was allowed to cover the trial after. So I'm going to see how this all shapes out. But I have truly believe that, obviously Aiden is in the best hands as well, with one Mark Betterow being on his side. And I'm sure there's going to be a Betterow letter here pretty soon regarding all of that, all of the witness. So we'll see what happens here. So do me a favor, if you can, smash the like button. We'll get this program kicking off. Again, any donations that come in through the channel tonight, we're going to donate 25% of that back to Karen Reed's Defense Fund. And if you can, please click that link at the top of the chat. Donate, please, if you can, to Karen Reed's Defense Fund, $5, $10, $20, $100, whatever you can at this point, and just put in your comments LTL Media or LTL, and we'll track them throughout the show. Continuing to just drag this along, but we had the statement from the family, and we're going to get in a little bit of that today. And let's see, I'm going to get into that. Michael Proctor's family released a statement, accused Karen Reed of meleeing the embattled trooper. Now, this guy's soft, okay? I'm going to tell you why he's soft, because you're going to hear in the quotes here, you're going to hear in the quote that, oh, they face such difficult things. And that is true. Being a police officer, a state trooper, a federal officer, whatever it may be, okay, you see a lot of things that are very disturbing. You hear a lot of things that are very disturbing, but you go through the academy to get that training. You go through the academy to get your head right for those particular situations. They train you for that, okay? But you don't go into your phone and talk about potential, you talk about suspects in a trial, or a potential suspect in a trial, or someone that you're framing that's going to be in a trial, or a neighbor, or whatever it may be, a victim. You don't go in there and you maliciously slander them with what Trooper Proctor said in those text messages. And believe me, my friends, this is not the first time that he has done this. This is not just, hey, in this certain situation, I'm upset and I'm going to say these things. This is a learned, applied behavior. This man has been like this his entire life. I'm sure he jokes this way with his family. And if he's saying those things, in testament, what kind of other things is he saying? What kind of other things is he saying? Maybe around his family, around his friends, about people that he's come in contact with through his work, or just out in his neighborhood or in society. What kind of things? This is behavior that you were born with, okay? And it comes out. It comes out inside you, and this gets carried through your entire life. This doesn't go away. It's not a one-time thing. And he did a very good job tricking the system to get into the position that he's in. And then he continued to use his power in the way that he did to get away with it. Dragged his buddies into it, dragged his coworker, had his supervisor involved in it. Nothing happened to any of them. It's disgusting. It's disgusting, and it's embarrassing. Very embarrassing for Karen to have to sit through that. But she's just like, hey, let it come out. Let the world know. And I think they did a fine job in the first trial, exposing this scumbag. It's a scumbag cop. Scumbag cop. But let's get into this here. Let's see. After exhaustive investigation at both the state and federal level and a grand jury, only one person has been charged with a crime, the defendant, Karen Reed, the trooper's wife, said. Says the family of the embattled. It's just so embattled. The embattled Massachusetts State Trooper, Michael Proctor, whose crude text about Reed cast a pale over the first murder trial that has put his own career in jeopardy and has spoken out for the first time. The funny thing, I was speaking with a police officer friend of mine the other night, and they said a few choice words about Michael Proctor and what type of person they thought he was or is. So Proctor's wife and sister released statements Thursday accusing Reed's lawyers of meleeing the investigators to deflect from overwhelming evidence points to Reed's alleged role in the January 2022 death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. I want to go down to the quotes. After an exhaustive investigation on both the state and federal level in a grand jury, only one person has been charged with the crime. The defendant, Karen Reed, Elizabeth Proctor, the trooper's wife, said. Obviously, we know the background here. I'm going to speed down. I want to look. I want to get to the quote. During the testimony, Proctor admitted he dehumanized Reed through text, calling her a whack job C word, making light of her Crohn's disease, and joking about her looking for nudes on her phone and expressing hope that she would kill herself. How would you feel if you found out, I'm speaking to the women here, how would you feel if you found out your husband was engaging in this type of behavior, looking through, women's phones and looking for nude photographs or videos to engage in and look at and get his rocks off on that? How would you feel if you were the wife of Trooper Proctor? Would you be standing by him publicly? Or would there be a divorce in your future? In learning the way he talks. So this is applied in learned behavior in his family. It's accepted. It's an accepted behavior. And those are pretty dirty people. Dirty people to be out in society that think and talk like this. Quote, who among us has not said something regrettable in the moments of stress, shock, and sadness? You're a state trooper, sir. You are supposed to be trained for this. If you can't hack it, then take a mental health lead. There are resources. You don't take out your frustration in text messages, 16 hours later and start calling the person that you think committed this crime, the awful things that you said, out to your friends, out to your sister, out to your supervisor. You take a mental health leave if you can't hack it, or you get out. And how would you feel if the contents of your personal phone were questionably released to the public without full context? Courtney Proctor said. Well, isn't that what happened in Karen Reed's case by this fucking jerk off? He talked about her medical information, her medical diagnoses, called her all these awful names. Elizabeth Proctor said that a family has been tormented in the years since O'Keefe's death. Well, don't be a fucking scumbag. Unfortunately, we know that speaking out, more harassment will be unleashed on our family, but we can no longer stand silently and watch Michael's character be attacked by the disparaged so unfairly. So let's see here. In light of the egregious false statements from the Karen Reed and her defense team, both inside and outside the courtroom, Michael Proctor's family is speaking out for the first time to address ongoing misrepresentations of his character and calling public to actually look at the facts on this case. This is hilarious. On January 29, 2022, 14 minutes before his on-call shift due to end, Michael Proctor was assigned to the unattended death of his life changed forever. Proctor and the other investigators followed the evidence. The jury and the defendant's peers indicted Reed, and the only Reed, for murder of John O'Keefe. Despite this, the family says that Michael Proctor has been defamed, meleeed, and falsely labeled corrupt and an alleged murderer. Her family and her defense team and a mob of followers. Through the unrelenting propaganda and disinformation, the defense is trying this case in court of public opinion and painting Karen Reed as a victim with the hope of tinting a jury pool. Quote, at the end of the day, a beloved police officer and honorable man was killed. The prosecution believes in its open and shut case, and defense knows this too. So their tactics is to put my husband and the lead investigator on trial for sending texts on his personal phone to his friends and family, Proctor's wife said, Elizabeth Proctor. Karen Reed defense team is unabashedly creating false narratives and distracting the public and potential jurors from clear-cut evidence. It was recently announced that all aspects of the federal investigation involved in this case have been closed. Let's quote, Michael and so many of the others in line of work see horrible things every day and at many times need to vent personally. That's when you go to a mental health counselor. You don't put this shit on your phone. You don't talk about your friends. You don't talk about your supervisors. You don't put it in text. You want to say something? Keep it out of text. Call a buddy. You saw a fellow officer die in a horrible, tragic death, who among us said something regrettable in the moments of stress, shock, and sadness. And how you feel of the contents of your personal phone is questionably released to the public without full context. Well, they went after Karen Reed's phone, didn't they? Proctor's wife and family said they have been tormented for years about the case, and it's time to focus on the real perpetrator. Unfortunately, we know that by speaking out, more harassment is being unleashed on our family, but we can no longer stand silently when Michael's character being attacked, disparaged unfairly. And that's at the end of the article here. So those are probably the quotes of the quotes. Quotes of the quotes. It's unbelievable. Deserves everything he gets publicly and deserves everything to get for what he said. All right, let's get into the Daily Mail here. So Karen Reed, retrial rocked by shock, double jeopardy ruling as judge denies request to dismiss 2 charges. So it looks like she's going to go back and face all these full charges, which is strange because I don't get it. How are they proving that she was drunk, and how are they even proving that she made contact and hit John O'Keefe? The evidence is not there that supports this. Again, ARCA, all day. And I keep going back and saying, you know, if I'm this defense team, keep it simple, stupid. Just keep it simple. Keep it simple this time around. Keep it simple. Keep your cross a lot shorter. Don't drag it out for the jury. You know, we had Ronnie, the juror, step up. Ronnie, the juror, stepped up and basically gave the roadmap to what they were looking at. He said, look, 2 people, this is what we were hung up on. 2 people went. They were drinking. 1 person got out of the car. 1 person was dead. 1 person left. Focus on that. Prove the accident didn't happen. That's all you need to do. Karen did not hit John. And this is the way that we're going to describe it. We're going to use this scientific technology to prove that. We will prove it. And I guarantee you, there is going to be a lot more data this time around. A lot more data this time around. And if you go back, and I encourage everybody to do this, go back and watch the Ted Daniel interview, part 2, Inside the SUV. I feel that Karen drops a lot of Easter eggs in there of data that they're going to be using this time around. Okay. Let me look. I just had a super chat come in. Larissa, thank you so much for the $20, and 25% of your $20 will go to Karen Reed's Defense Fund. And I encourage everybody to click the link at the top for the direct link to Karen Reed's Defense. Make a donation if you can, and just put LTL in your comments so we can try to track this. I'm going to try to see if any of them are coming in, and maybe I'll make a spreadsheet and try to track these through the show. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, but maybe we can. Larissa says, it's so obvious why Proctor has zero integrity. He's been enabled by his family and clearly shows all of his character. Time for Proctor and his family to hold him and only him accountable. Zero sympathy. I love that. It's perfect. Well said. Well done. That's it. Right there. Perfect. Perfect. We got my buddy checking in. Lauren's going to track the defense fund for us. Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate that. And Lauren will be live. We're going to do our first live in studio on my birthday. She will be in here in studio. We're going to have a pizza party. So we're going to have a pizza party. We're going to hang out. Maybe we'll have a little birthday cake here. We're going to celebrate my birthday, and we're going to do the Jennifer McCabe testimony. And we're going to talk about the 227 Google search. That did happen. That did happen. So we got Mike checking in. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. The Young Jerks, $20. $20 super chat and says, thank you for supporting last night. Dude, I had so much fun, man. I had so much fun. We got to do that again. I don't know if I'm going to get to the $5,000 tonight, but I'd love to get something, you know, in the pot for Karen tonight. We got to try to keep this going because she is going to really need it. And you know that, and I know that. And if you haven't gone over and checked that stream out from last night, it was such a great time. We had Kelly Reed popped on for a little while. We had Nurse Kim. We had Auntie Deb that turned into gold dust by the end of the show. Mike took his shirt off. We had, and oh gosh, I forget her name. I'm so sorry. She was so nice. And she's been a TikToker and new to the YouTube space. And maybe someone can fill me in. I'm sorry. I've only seen her stuff like once or twice on YouTube, but she's doing a great job with her videos. Maybe, yes, thank you. Boozy Beauty. Thank you. I appreciate that. And she was funny and great, and we had such a great time. You've got to go over and look at that stream. And Mike had Andrea Burkhardt on tonight and really killed it over there too. So check out that replay. He's been such a great job and an inspiration to this movement, and just interviews really well, and has been a great friend of mine lately. You know, really someone that I've had a lot of conversation with and a lot of encouragement to keep going. And it feels good to have someone, you know, in your corner like that. And of course, you know, Mazza Media as well too. So we've been, you know, smashing it. And Mazza, if you're watching, get better, buddy. I know you were supposed to join us last night. You haven't been feeling well, and I hope you get better. So I appreciate that. Let's see. Crystal Pond, thank you so much. A $50 super chat. And we're going to kick back 25% of that to Karen Reed, obviously tonight. Free Karen Reed, she says. And again, I encourage everybody to click the link at the top. Let's do some direct donations. But if not, anything that comes over, please, we'll donate that to Karen Reed. Let's see. Just had $100 donation defense on the defense page. Yeah, Lauren, if you can keep track of that, that would be really great. And we'll see what we can get by the end of the stream tonight. And if you have to pass it off, you know, I'm sure one of my mods can take over that. So, yeah, Tanya says, you can tell Mike is a good friend. He protected you last night. Yeah. Listen, I was cool with everything. You know, I think a lot of people think that I'm like, he always goes, he's so serious. He's such a serious guy. Like, I'm really, like, I don't know, like, I take my channel really serious. And I take the things I talk about really serious because I get very invested in it. But I do smile and laugh and have fun. Like, I'm a really fun guy. Like, you can ask Lauren. Lauren and I hang out all the time. We laugh all the time. But I think everybody thinks I'm like really stiff. I think that's the thing. I'm really not. Like, I'm pretty hilarious. I have to say, I'm pretty hilarious. So, all right, let's get into this real quick because I do want to get into this testimony. And listen to this back tonight. So we have the witness list that came out. Karen Reed's father, Turtle Boy, the blogger. Well, you say journalist. The guy's a fucking award-winning journalist. Let's get it right, okay? Trooper Proctor and new experts appear on prosecution witness lists. So prosecutors submitted a list of 86 potential witnesses. Now, again, potential witnesses. They could call to testify in the upcoming Reed trial. The Massachusetts woman who was accused of murder in connection with the death of her Boston police officer. These lists include many of the same witnesses who testified at the first trial, including members of the Albert family that owned the property where O'Keefe died. I mean, Brian Albert should be on trial. Reed's defense recently suggested that two of the Alberts will be part of a third-party culprit defense, although the prosecution has asked the judge to block that strategy. Of course. These fucking advertisements, man, it's like beyond me. You can't even get through an article and there's a million fucking pop-ups. It's crazy. Trooper Proctor, the investigator whose text messages played an embarrassing role in the first trial, is on the list. He was suspended in the wake of the Reed's mistrial and is waiting a verdict in a disciplinary proceeding. The controversial blogger, dun dun dun, he's a journalist. Let's get it right. Known as Turtle Boy, who's posted prolifically about the defense theory of the case, is among the potential witnesses. He faces multiple charges, including witness intimidation in the connection with his work, and the prosecutors allege Carney and Reed have communicated extensively. So we all know why they want to try to do this and put Aiden on the list, makes him a state witness, keeps him out of the courtroom, keeps him from talking about this, basically silences him. A First Amendment right to talk about what you want to talk about, to shut a journalist down. That is what they're doing here. And obviously, it's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. And again, I'm sure that Betterow and Bradel are going to have something to say about this. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a Betterow letter soon. I wouldn't even be surprised if we see something tomorrow or maybe Monday. They tend to like to drop. Oh, Friday would be good. Friday drop would be good, or possibly on Monday. But I'm sure that Betterow will have something absolutely to say about this. All right, everybody. Let's get in and try to raise some money for Karen tonight. I appreciate y'all being here. We're going to get into, and I haven't done this one in a while. I think the last time I watched this was during the trial. We're going to boost the sound up here, and let's watch. Look at it. He already scared. He's already scared on the stand, and Alan Jackson's going to have his way with him. And let's see how many lies we get into. When there's a lie, what I want everybody to do in the chat room, when we hear a lie, all right, you're gonna type an L in the chat room. When we hear a lie out of Brian Albert's mouth, let's type an L in the chat room. All right, here we go. And again, I'm trying to raise some money for Karen tonight. Click that link at the top if you can make a donation to the defense team. I would appreciate it. Type LTL or LTL Media in the comments, and we'll try to track them here. And any money that comes through here on this channel, I will donate 25% back to Karen Reed's defense fund. All right, here we go.
Mr. Albert, this is not, this process is not the first time you've testified in the court of law.
Everybody's got L's
No.
up.
In fact, you were a police officer for either just under or just over 30 years. Is that right?
Yes.
During that time.
Now, it's funny. I titled this Goon Squad because that's what type of officer this is. He's just part of the Goon Squad. I get in, I got a badge and a gun, and I got the right. I got the right to do whatever I want and be sneaky and shady. And how about this? A dying Boston police officer on your front lawn, and the medical emergency response team is called to your house, and you don't come out once for your brother, for your fellow officer. You lie and say that you didn't hear anything. You lie and say, I didn't see anything. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Disgusting behavior.
How many times would you say that you testified in a court of law in any capacity?
I would say 100, perhaps.
So you consider yourself to be an experienced witness?
In what aspect? In as far as being a witness as a police officer?
You've experienced testifying in a courtroom.
Yes.
Okay, so you understand the oath.
Yes.
You understand the gravity of perjury.
Yes.
When was the last time you spoke to Mr. Lally before Friday when you began testifying?
Before Friday, the last time I spoke to Mr. Lally was, I believe, on a conference call around the time of my grand jury testimony.
Which would have been 2022.
Yes.
April of 2022.
Yes.
So you've not spoken with Mr. Lally since that time?
I don't remember speaking with Mr. Lally since that time, no.
What about anybody else from the district attorney's office?
No.
Have you gone over the facts or what you believe to be the facts of your testimony with anybody
You guys
before
are
you
too much.
testified on Friday, not including any lawyer that you may have?
No.
Did you discuss any questions that you may be asked on direct examination or questions that you may be posed on
I think the L button's going to get worn out tonight.
examination with any member of the district attorney's office?
No.
Were you told about any exhibits or documents that you might be shown?
Just in the prep, I believe I was shown a video of the waterfall bar.
We're at
And that
110.
was back in April of 2022.
No, that was for the prep for this trial.
With whom did you prep? for this
I
trial?
Mr. Lally.
I'm confused. I thought you said you had not spoken with Mr. Lally since April of 2022.
Except for the prep for this trial, I had not.
Okay, that was my question, Mr. Albert.
Okay, I misunderstood your question. I apologize.
Did you prep for this trial with Mr. Lally?
Yes,
When?
approximately a few weeks ago.
Mr. Albert, about 45 seconds ago, I asked you, have you spoken with Mr. Lally before your testimony in this process, this proceeding? And your answer was, no, I have not. Did you not understand my question?
I did not.
What was confusing about it?
I was expecting you to ask if I had prepped with Mr. Lally. I didn't hear prep with Mr. Lally, so I didn't know what you were referring to.
So when I said spoke with Mr. Lally, since I didn't say prep with Mr. Lally, your answer was no, I didn't speak with him. I just prepped with him.
Yes.
What's the difference between speaking and prepping?
No, there is no difference. I just misunderstood your question. That's all.
You guys are
Tell me
funny.
about that prep with Mr. Lally.
Sure. I prepped with Mr. Lally about this trial with Mr. Lally, my attorney.
Where did that preparation take place?
The preparation took place, I believe, I'm trying to remember exactly where it was. I actually don't recall where it was.
Would it have been at the DA's office?
Yes, but it wasn't at the DA's office. No, I believe it was somewhere else, but I can't remember if it was here or the DA's office. I'm not sure.
I also asked you a couple minutes ago, did you review any documents or any evidence in preparation for your testimony? And to that question, you also answered no.
Well, I said I reviewed the video.
Well, now you're saying you reviewed a video, but when I
Yes.
asked you, did you see any evidence or documents, anything in preparation for your testimony? You said no, right?
No, I believe I said I saw a video.
Did you understand? Did you misunderstand my question when I asked it the first time as well?
No.
Okay, I'm going to try to be clearer with my question.
Okay.
I
Let me
love
try it
this.
again. What, if anything, have you reviewed
What if anything?
in anticipation of your testimony in this trial?
So I reviewed a video of the waterfall.
Anything else?
I reviewed my transcript from the grand jury.
So you have reviewed your prior testimony,
My transcript of the grand jury, yes.
which is prior testimony, correct?
Yes.
When did you do that?
I did that during the prep.
What part of the waterfall video did Mr. Lally show you?
I was a small snippet of the video and just one of the 20 seconds of video during that night.
Thank you, Sue.
There's a lot of video there. Which part, if you can tell
Sue,
us?
$4, $5. We're gonna add that on here to our list. And says, Al, this guy has no soul. The eyes tell you everything, and the body language as well, too. The body language is right there. Java Time says this guy is such a goon. Super goon. Super goon, goon, goon. Thank you, Sophie, keeping track. I got Sophie keeping track of the super chats and the cash apps as I call them out. We got Lauren DC keeping track of Karen's Defense Fund website. Let's
Part
go.
did you review with Mr. Lally?
It just showed the waterfall. It showed patrons. It showed myself and the other people I was with.
What were you doing in that 20-second snippet of that video?
I believe in one portion of it, I was fooling around with Brian Higgins.
Fooling
Oh,
around.
wow.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Means we were just fooling around. That's it.
Fooling around like arm wrestling?
No, I don't think we were arm wrestling. I think we were just pushing each other, fooling around.
Oh, so play fight.
I don't think I would call it play fighting. No, I was just,
Remember seeing part of the video where you took a fighting stance, sort of like this?
I actually don't remember that part. No,
No.
Yeah.
Remember part of the video where Brian Higgins took a fighting stance, sort of like this?
maybe, yes.
So you approached one another,
I don't think I saw that whole video. No,
practicing fighting techniques?
I wouldn't call it that. No,
You can have that. I'm sorry, what was your answer to that, Mr. Albert?
no.
So what you reviewed with Mr. Lally was the portion of the video where you and Mr. Higgins were somehow fooling around. And how would you describe it? If it's not fighting techniques, how would you describe it?
Just joke.
She Rage Nits checking in says he has to choose between looking at a liar or an idiot. Turns out both. I love it. Canadian friends checking in. Thank you so much for your super chat.
Joking, being silly, just fooling around.
Doing what physically?
Doing, if you rephrase,
Physically. I mean, you could joke with words.
right.
Were you just joking with words like a stand-up comedian, or were you doing something physically?
No, I think we were pushing each other, fooling around, joking.
Okay. Did you ever show him how to throw a punch?
Say what?
Did you show him how you would throw a punch?
I don't remember that. No.
Did you squat down, show him how you want to get low when you're either aggressive or defending an aggression?
I don't remember that exact pose. No.
Did he walk over to you and grab you and
Joey.
act like he was going to drive a knee into your stomach?
I'm not sure.
At some point, did you flip him around, grab him in a wrestling hold?
I may have, I just don't remember it exactly.
Do these things sound familiar when you reviewed, as to your review of the video that you saw with Mr. Lally?
No, I didn't see all those on the video, Mr. Lally.
Did you discuss with Mr. Lally the questions that you might be asked by him on direct examination? Did he go through, here are the topics of conversation that we're going to have?
No, not like that.
Did he go over with you what he believed the topics of conversation might be on cross-examination by either myself or Mr. Unetti?
I believe so, yes.
What did he tell you you might be asked?
I don't remember exactly what he told me. He said we could be asked about the night at the waterfall. We could be asked about back at the house, things like that.
Anything else?
Not that I can remember.
Is there anything, given your conversation with Mr. Lally, is there anything that you want to change about the testimony that you previously gave under oath in April of 2022?
No,
The fact that you've now reviewed that testimony?
no,
You stick by that testimony?
yes,
Have you watched any of these proceedings on any platform before your testimony?
no,
Never tuned into anything that's live streaming, any of the media coverage?
no,
You're aware that your wife testified before you.
yes,
Did you just, I don't want to know what the words were. Did you discuss her testimony with her before you testified?
no,
So she came home after testifying in this trial, and you two never brought it up.
no. I just asked her how she was doing and that was it.
Mr. Albert, are you close friends with Brian Higgins?
I wouldn't describe it as close friends, no.
He's a fellow law enforcement officer, correct?
Yes,
Works for the ATF,
he does.
the Department of, or the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, correct?
Yes.
How long have you known Mr. Higgins?
I think I first met Mr. Higgins about 15 years ago.
How did you meet him?
It was a professional, something at work. We may have worked together. I think at the time he was a Cambridge.
Didn't he say like, he didn't Jackson just ask him, are you close friends? He goes, no, I wouldn't say close friends. How long have you known him? For 15 years. Did I just get that right? Didn't he just ask that? Did he just ask that? Are you a close friend of Brian Higgins? No, I'm not. How long you know him for? 15 years. I don't know. If I knew someone for 15 years, it'd be a pretty close friend. Kelly Reed checking in. How you doing, Kelly? Trying to raise some money for Karen tonight. If you can. I don't know if I'm going to be able to outrun Mike from the Young Jerks last night. We had such a great show. But I'm letting everybody know. Please click that defense fund link. Type in LTL in the comment. I got my friend Lauren DC. She is tracking those donations. And I told everybody 25% of anything that comes here tonight, as customarily I do, is I donate back to Karen's defense fund as well. All right, let's keep going here. Goon Squad, let's go.
Arson squad member. And I think he came into the city of Boston to do something for work.
So you've known him for 15 years, and you were with him on January 28th, 2022, correct?
Yes,
And he's the person that you were, quote, joking and fooling around with, right?
yes,
You had a long road trip with Mr. Higgins on January 28th, 2022, didn't you?
what's the question?
You had a long road trip with Mr. Higgins on January 28th, 2022, correct?
We drove from New York to Boston, yes.
It's a pretty good drive, you'd say.
Yes,
Consider that a road trip?
yes.
How long?
I don't know if it was probably somewhere around 4 hours, maybe.
Excuse me.
Once you got back from New York to back up to Boston, the
Yes.
Boston area, the two of you stopped at a location, correct?
Yes,
What was the location?
the hillside.
And what did you two do at the hillside?
We went into the hillside, had a drink, talked, and I think Brian may have ordered food.
So once you got back from that relatively long road trip, that 4 hour long road trip, I apologize, you stopped at a bar and started drinking, correct?
Yes,
Do you have anything to eat at the hillside?
I did not.
But Brian did. Brian Higgins did.
I left prior to Brian Higgins eating.
During the course of that road trip, or at the hillside, did the two of you discuss Karen Reed, my client?
No,
Did her name ever come up?
no,
Without telling me anything that he may have actually said, did he mention Karen Reed or the topic of Karen Reed?
no, never.
Did he mention the fact that he'd been texting and flirting with Karen Reed 2 weeks prior?
No,
So that subject, according to you, was never addressed or broached by Mr. Higgins or you
no,
during that entire day.
no.
After you arrived at the waterfall, John O'Keefe arrived subsequent thereto, right?
Yes,
How long after?
approximately 45 minutes maybe?
And Karen Reed was with him, is that right?
Yes.
Brian Higgins was standing right next to you when she came in, along with John O'Keefe, correct?
I'm not sure where people were standing when they arrived.
See the mouth's getting dry too. Super dry. Super dry.
Well, you remember you saw video, correct?
I don't believe there's any, I saw video of them walking into waterfall now.
Fair enough, but you saw at least a clip, according to you. You saw a clip
He's
of that video
fidgety too.
of you at the waterfall, correct?
Yes.
You were situated at a high top table, right?
Yes.
Your back is sort of to the camera, is that right?
I'm not sure of the camera angles. The video that I saw, I was at the high top table, but I'm not sure of all the camera angles of the waterfall.
Brian Higgins is the guy with the sweatshirt, with maybe a Harley Davidson emblem on the back or something.
I'm not sure what he wore that night. I'm sure he had a sweatshirt on, but I don't know what the emblem was.
Marianne checking in $5. Thank you so much for the $5 donation, Marianne. She said, if his mouth is moving, he lying. I love that. If his mouth is moving, he lying. He a liar.
He was standing right next to you in the video clip that you saw.
Yes.
Okay. In other words, that was the video where he was standing right next to you. You two turn to each other and start this play fighting thing.
Yes.
So if it's that time or sometime around there at the high top, you were in proximity of Brian Higgins when Karen Reed and John O'Keefe came into the bar, correct?
I just don't recall the timing of when they came into the bar.
All right. Mr. Albert, did Mr. Higgins say anything to you at that time about John O'Keefe arriving with Karen Reed at his side?
No.
Did Mr. Higgins say anything to you about being upset that Karen Reed had shown up with John O'Keefe?
No.
Describe your relationship with John O'Keefe, if you would.
So I didn't know John that well. I had only met him a few times, but every time I met him, it was cordial, pleasant, and I would consider him to be a coworker, even though I never really worked with him directly. He seemed like a nice guy. I knew his whole story about the fact that he had taken his niece and nephew after a tragedy in the family, and I had an unbelievable amount of respect for him doing that. But I can't say that we were good friends because I didn't really know him all that well.
You were far better friends with Brian Higgins than you were with John O'Keefe. That's fair to say.
Yes.
On Friday, you were asked whether or not you knew my client, Karen Reed, correct? This meeting a couple days ago during your direct examination.
I believe so, yes.
You were also asked the same series of questions at another grand jury not involving the Commonwealth. Remember that in June of 2023?
Yes.
I want to be clear about this other hearing.
All right.
That was a
We're at 190 in the defense fund. We can do better than that. We got like 800 people in this room. Come on. Just click that link. Click that link, even just $5. I'm going to drop it in the chat. Click that link in the chat. Type in LTL in your comment. Let's try to raise some money for Karen tonight. She's going to need it. Getting ready to go to trial here in just about 2 weeks. And anything that we can. Come on. Tomorrow's Friday. Tomorrow's payday. We can do it. 5, 10, $20. Skip that coffee tomorrow. $5 on that defense fund link would go a long way for Karen's team. I mean, you got to think she's got to pay for all the food that comes in. Alan Jackson and Liza will be moving out here soon. She has to pay for all the transportation, food, anything they need. And if we can help out and do that, I really would appreciate it. All right, here we go.
On Commonwealth hearing in front of the grand jury, correct?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Lally and his.
Thank you, Heather. I
colleagues were
appreciate
not
it.
there. Is that right?
15-month member. Look at this. 15-month member here. Thank you so much. Look at the long-standing support here in this channel. I love it. Thank you all so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Says, I'm so proud of your generosity. I donated. Thank you so much, Heather. And I appreciate you being here. And I appreciate you being a member because it keeps the lights on here in the studio. All right, let's keep going.
Yannetti was not there.
Yes.
Or Miss Little.
Right.
At that June 2023, and I'm going to talk about a couple of dates, so I don't want to be confusing. At that June 2023 non-Commonwealth hearing, you were asked some questions about whether or not you knew Karen Reed before January 28th, 2022.
I believe so.
Question.
I believe so, yes.
And you testified, but before you testified, you were sworn an oath.
Yes.
Same oath that you swore in this trial, correct?
Yes.
Swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And you knew that you were testifying under penalty of perjury in that hearing as well, correct?
Yes.
And you testified at that non-Commonwealth grand jury that you, quote, believe Karen was with John the night he came into Hillside. A female that looked similar to Karen from the waterfall came in with him on that night. And I assume that was her, but I can't say for sure, end quote. That was your testimony before that grand jury.
Yes.
But you were also asked a similar question in April of 2022 by Mr. Lally at his grand jury. Remember that?
No.
Let's start.
Let's pause here real quick. Amanda, thank you so much. 6-month membership, half a year. Thank you, Brian. Much love from Detroit checking in. Hashtag free Karen Reed. Thank you. Appreciate you. All right, let's get back to
Beginning, before you
the
testified
trial.
in April 2022 grand jury, more than a year earlier, and just 3 months after this incident, you were sworn an oath, correct?
Yes.
Same oath that you took in June of 2023, right?
Yes.
And the same oath you took on Friday.
Yes.
Isn't it true that you were asked the question whether or not you knew Karen Reed on January 28th, 2022, and you testified, quote, "I've never met or seen her before," end quote.
No, I don't recall that.
Didn't you indicate that you just testified, I'm sorry, that you reviewed your grand jury testimony in anticipation for this trial?
Yes.
You read the whole thing,
Yes.
and you don't recall making that statement?
No.
Yes, and I'll see counsel at sidebar when you leave that with the witness.
I'm going to speed up. Oh, maybe they're going to cut it. Let's see.
Just please take a look at that.
Sure.
Takes his old man glasses out. Speed up.
Two things was true.
I was saying that I met her maybe once.
Actually, what you said was, "I've never met her or seen her before." Your words, not my words, sir. Isn't that right?
No, because in the next sentence, I say I met her maybe once.
So you literally changed your testimony within your own testimony.
Objection.
No, can you answer that, Mr. Albert?
I believe I qualified my first sentence with his second sentence.
So what changed between the first sentence, where you indicated unequivocally, "I've never met or seen her before," and the second sentence when you said, "maybe once"?
I'm not sure what I was thinking at the time that I said that.
Isn't it true, Mr. Albert, not only had you met Ms. Reed, but you had spent several hours with Karen Reed and John O'Keefe 6 days before this incident? Isn't that true?
No.
In fact, on January 22nd,
Oh,
2022, 6 days before January 28th, you socialized with Karen Reed at the Hillside Bar for several hours, didn't you?
I forgot about this. And it's what they say. You always go back and you watch these and you hear things and you pick things up. 6 days before. Look at this. 6 days before.
I was at the Hillside Bar the week prior. Yes.
It was a Saturday night, correct?
Yes.
You were at the bar.
Yes.
There were several other folks at the bar, correct?
Several people. Yes.
That included Chris Albert, your brother,
Yes.
a guy named Tim Daly,
Yes.
Daily, is that right?
I'm not sure how to spell his last name.
Julie Albert was there.
Yes.
Jen McCabe was there.
Yes.
Matt McCabe was there.
Yes.
John O'Keefe was there.
Yes, he was.
And Karen Reed was there, correct?
Yes, she was.
In fact,
Yeah,
Yes.
me too, Sophie.
to take a look
You always catch something.
at
And
a
that's why
photograph.
it's always great to go back and listen to
Compare
these.
yourself for a second. Tell me if you familiarize yourself with it and look up when you're ready.
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
Actually, I don't need to. Mr. Albert, you can stay there. Do you recognize the photograph that's before you?
Yes.
How do you recognize it?
Well, I recognize the people within the photograph, and the background of the photograph looks like the hillside.
Does that appear to be a photograph that was taken on January 22nd, 2022?
Yes.
You were at the Hillside Bar?
Yes.
Can I publish this now?
Okay, is it already in evidence or you?
No, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
So you put it in evidence first and then you
May I
publish it?
have that marked as next in order?
Yes.
And then
Thank you.
Ah. I was going to say, Madam Court Reporter wearing a little pink, but it's more
Yes.
magenta, but maybe it's in a subtle way.
you see
Right.
that photograph is the same photograph that you're looking at in front of you?
Yes.
Describe who the people are going from left to right, sir.
Chris Albert, myself, John O'Keefe, and Tim Daly.
And this was on January 22nd, 2022, about 11 p.m., correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Coach Honor.
Yes.
Mr. Albert, who took the photo?
I don't know.
Karen Reed took the photo, didn't she?
I have no idea who took that photo.
Karen Reed took the photo, you're literally staring right at her, correct?
Look at, she's like,
I
"You
don't know who
fucking
took the
kidding me?"
photo.
Well, who else do you think you could?
Well, there are a lot of
Look at Karen right now. Like, you fucking kidding me? This is what you're gonna say? You fucking kidding me? Look at her face.
people there. You mentioned my sister, 2 sister-in-laws, a brother-in-law. I'm not sure.
You can turn the lights back on, please, and take the photo down.
Yeah.
Did you ever see this photo from Jim McCabe?
You know what she said? She said, "You fucking kidding me right now? You kidding me? Like, you know I took that photo." That's what's going through her head right now.
No,
Did you ever see it from Julie Albert?
no,
Chris Albert didn't take it. He's in it.
right,
Tim didn't take it. He's in it.
Right.
You obviously didn't take it.
Right.
And who's the guy on the far right?
Tim,
That was Tim. Who's the guy next to Tim?
John, right?
So who do you think?
Do you still need the photo up? I'm sorry, I thought you were done with it.
Do you remember?
Yeah, it was John, yeah,
Okay. The
Yes.
baseball cap on, correct?
yes.
I don't even know.
Okay.
So given the fact that you were never shown that, you've never seen that photo before today, right?
I saw a photo that was sent to me in Discovery or to my attorney that showed only, I believe, me and John in the picture. I think it's the same photo, only that's blown up to show everybody.
Got it. So given what you now know about that night, who was there, the fact that John was in for a photo right next to you, who do you think took the photo, sir?
I have no idea who took the photo.
Could have been Karen Reed.
Objection.
Sustained. Let's move along from
In
that,
fact,
please.
you were interacting with Karen Reed and John O'Keefe throughout that evening, correct?
I remember having conversations with John that evening. I don't necessarily remember speaking to Karen that evening.
Irrespective of whether or not you spoke to her, you obviously saw her there.
Yes.
You were there with her for a couple of hours.
Well, I wasn't there with her for a few hours. I was there with other people.
So without splitting hairs, she was there, correct?
Yes,
John was there.
yes,
You were socializing with John.
yes.
She was right next to him.
Sometimes, perhaps not, maybe all the times I was talking to him, no.
So you were socializing not exclusively with her.
Right.
But certainly socializing with her 6 days before John O'Keefe ended up dead on your lawn, correct?
We were there at the same time, yes.
And yet, when you were asked 3 months later, do you know Karen Reed, or how do you know Karen Reed? The actual question was, so the female you've never met before. Is that fair to say? That was Mr. Loud.
Jennifer, thank you so much for the $2 Cash App. I appreciate that. We're going to add that to the total, and 25% of your dono that came in tonight will donate back to Karen Reed. And again, I'm dropping the link here. If you can, please click that link at the top. Trying to do some direct donations tonight to Karen Reed's Defense Fund. If you any funds that come through the channel tonight, I do my customary 25% back. So I appreciate that. Grandma Bell, thank you so much for becoming a new YouTube member. We're going to add $5 because those are normally just $5 kickoffs. And I appreciate becoming a new member of the channel. All right, let's keep playing on here. Got a little while to go. Try to raise some money for Karen.
Your immediate response was, no, I've never met her or seen her before, correct? That's what you said.
That's not my whole response, no.
That's what you said immediately upon that question, sir.
That's the beginning of my response, yes.
That was the first sentence out of your mouth.
Yes.
You also
T-Rage.
testified at the subsequent grand jury.
Thank you for gifting 1 membership. Welcome in, new member. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's keep
In
going.
June of 2023,
$5 there.
when asked what was your impression of Miss Reed, you said, quote, I honestly didn't really have one. I didn't have any conversation with her. I just kind of saw her from across the table. I didn't really think of it either way. Correct?
I don't know.
Heather says $5 super chat. I appreciate that. She says, Brian, can you play the pirouette when you're done? Yeah, I mean, if it's not too late. I mean, we got another, almost 2 hours here. I might skip through some of it, and I want to get to, at the night of the party. So we'll play a little bit here, and then I'm going to bump it up. Maybe we get the pirouette at the end. I'll try to do what I can. Thank you, Glamour, for dropping the Karen Reed Defense Fund link in there. All right, let's play a little bit more. And if I might bump this up and get it to, the night in question. So
What that question is referring to, is that for the waterfall or is that for Hillside?
Hillside.
Okay, yes.
All right. So in June of 23, a little over a year later, your testimony significantly changed from no, I've never met or seen her before, to I really didn't have a conversation with her. I saw her across the table. I didn't really think of it either way. Correct?
No, I think those are very similar testimonies.
When you were asked in the other proceeding, and this is about the waterfall, question, did you talk to Karen Reed at the waterfall that night? You answered unequivocally, I did not. Is that right?
Yes.
And that's what you told the June grand jury, June of 23.
Yeah, I'm going to probably speed this up. I want to get to like the night in question. But thank you. Jackie Young, look at this. The UK checking in. We'll make that $10 US. I appreciate that. Tanya, thank you so much. $10 as well. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much for your donations. Let's do this. Let's speed up to when we get to. I'm going to just bump it up here and see.
May not have asked you about this specific question about the waterfall. Did Brian Higgins say anything to you about John O'Keefe and Karen Reed walking in together?
Let's get to.
Right. Yes.
So you mentioned Brian Albert Jr.,
Yes.
your son. You mentioned Caitlin Albert, your eldest.
Nephew Colin, my son Brian.
Let's
The
go.
first person to actually physically get to the house. You got the-
All right, here we go. This is where I want to get to.
Whoever wanted to, really.
Thank you,
You've been
Tanya.
drinking since about what
Very
time in
sweet.
the
Thank
evening
you.
or in the afternoon?
9-ish.
That's when you went to the hillside?
Yes.
That's when you had your first drink?
Yes.
And you continued drinking throughout the evening consistently?
Yes.
Did you believe you were okay to drive?
Yes.
What kind of car did you have at the time?
Ford Edge.
Black?
Yes.
Did you drive that car home from the waterfall?
Yes.
Who rode with you?
My wife and my daughter.
What other cars were in the driveway when you got there?
I don't recall. Brian Higgins' Jeep was in the driveway backing up as we pulled in.
So kind of in your way.
Yes.
In other words, you weren't going to park him in.
I didn't want to block him in.
Right. So you waited.
I'll
until
throw
he
in the
moved Jeep
extra
out of the
$3.
way.
Yes.
Not a
And
problem.
you pulled in.
Glenn,
Yes.
Where in the
I'll throw in the
driveway did
extra
you pull in?
$3.
I believe I pulled to the left side of the driveway.
Thank
You would have been closest to the garage, or was there a car between you and the garage?
I would have been closest to the left side walkway. I don't think there was a car in front of me, but I'm not 100%.
Mr. Albert, did you move that black Ford Edge at any point that night after you got home?
No.
Brian Higgins was the first person to actually physically get to the house. He got there before you, correct?
Yes.
Describe his Jeep.
He had a Jeep Wrangler. I believe it's white. I think it's white.
Any appendage on it?
A plow.
A snow plow on the front.
Yes.
That can hydraulically go up and down.
I didn't see it that closely. I'm assuming it can, but I don't know that for sure.
After Mr. Higgins moved out of your way,
Lisa, thank you so much for the $30 on Venmo. So add $30 in there. She says, free Karen Reed. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
out of the driveway, where did he put that Jeep?
I don't know. I don't know where he parked.
So you wouldn't
That's
have
no
gotten to the
problem,
house if you
Glamour.
left Waterfall at 11:58. You have to get out to your car, get in your car, start it up, drive home, wait for Brian Higgins to move his Jeep, park your car, then get into the house. That's a fair assessment of the mechanism of you getting home that night, correct?
Yes.
You wouldn't have gotten into the house until what, 12:15? Maybe 15 minutes for all that?
I would put it more, maybe 10 past 12.
Dry again.
12:10 or so?
That would just be a guess.
So it could have been 12:15.
Yeah, it could have been 12:07.
Who was inside the house when you walked in?
My nephew Colin, my son Brian, and then he had two friends, female friends. I believe it's Sarah and Julie.
What were they doing inside the house?
They were just sitting at the kitchen table.
And your nephew,
How dry his
Colin,
mouth's getting.
how old was he at the time?
I believe 17 or 18.
Describe him.
In what way?
Height, weight.
So 2.5 years ago. So he was probably 5'11", maybe 6 feet, and probably 100 and, I'm guessing 175 pounds.
Big boy.
He's
Not a small kid.
right.
I mean, bigger than me, significantly.
Yes.
Athletic guy.
Yes.
Played football.
Yes.
Good at football.
Yes.
You testified that you went to the bathroom after you arrived home, correct?
Yes. After saying hi to everybody, I went to the bathroom.
Was that upstairs or downstairs?
I'm not sure I have a bathroom downstairs. I end up not downstairs, but on that floor and then upstairs. So I'm not sure which one I went to.
When you came
I think
back
it was
down-
upstairs.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean
I
to.
think it may have been upstairs, but I'm not sure.
When you came back downstairs from the bathroom or came out of the bathroom, wherever it was, you no longer saw Colin,
Yes. Prior to going to the bathroom, Colin had said that he was getting picked up.
but you never saw him move.
No,
You didn't see him leave the house, and you didn't see him get picked up by anybody.
I did not.
You didn't see a car outside waiting for him, correct?
I didn't. No.
You did give an initial statement on the morning of the 29th to Michael Lang.
Oh man, it's
About 7
melting
a.m.
dry.
Officer Lank was in the house at that time and speaking to all of us, really.
And you've admitted that you have known Michael Lang for many years. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you see that as a problem?
In what way?
Conflict of interest?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll let him have it. Did you see that as a conflict?
No.
You were asked who was present at the house that night, the night before, right?
Yes.
You stated the following people were at the house that night, quote, in response to Officer Lank's question, at some point during the time in question. That's how he phrased the question. Who was at the house at some point during the time in question? You understood that, right?
I don't recall his question. No.
You knew that he was asking who was in the house.
That's right. Yes.
So you mentioned Brian Albert Jr.,
Yes.
your son. You mentioned Caitlin Albert, your eldest.
Yes.
You mentioned Julie Nagel.
Yes.
You mentioned Brian Higgins.
Yes.
And then you added the detail that Caitlin Albert had left your house about 12:15 a.m., correct?
No,
You didn't say that?
I did not.
I may have just a moment. Yes.
I gotta pause this for a second. Like I gotta literally ask the audience something because this has been bothering me all day. Like literally been bothering me all day. And I need a consensus answer here inside the chat. Okay. If a policy at your employer, or if you've ever been through a situation like this, a policy changes at your employer, okay? Your boss says, hey, how am I going to say this? Your boss just puts in a policy that everybody's going to stay an extra hour, okay? Now, in many of the situations, I probably assume that there would be a meeting about it, right? They would gather the team and say, hey, look, we have to stay an extra hour because of this. The numbers are down, or we got to get ahead on this project. I'm sure your boss would have the common courtesy to come and do that, correct? Would your boss just do it and not tell you and then just start scheduling you later and not have any type of input for the team? Because that's the situation I'm in. He just makes the rules up, doesn't have any general meeting about it, just forces you to do it, and that's the way it's going to be. And then when you challenge them and you go, I noticed that my schedule has been an hour longer than I normally would work on such day or whatever. Well, yeah, we're going to stay later because of X. And I went, did I miss the meeting about it? He said, there was no meeting. I just did it. Okay. So I don't get it. I tell you, I work for the worst boss. And I hope he watches my channel. Because you're a tyrant. You're a tyrant. And you're a jerk. And you use the schedule as a weapon. Because you know that we all have lives outside of what we do. And your sole focus is to fuck with us and keep us there the maximum amount of time that you can. Long, 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 long days. And then you just put policies in place and you don't explain it to anybody. You just do it. And you just say, that is the way that it's going to be. And then you go ahead above us without having a meeting. And you just go to upper management and say, oh, this is what it is. And everybody's just going to, the expectation is everybody's just going to stay until this time now. What if you have a mother that needs to get their child? You haven't even warned anybody. You haven't even given a heads up. Hey, we're going to stay an extra hour. We need to get it, ahead of this project or this deadline or catch up on some of these numbers. Not even a week warning, not even a 2-day warning, not even a warning. You just make the schedule and just say, this is the way it's going to be. That's a fucking tyrant. And I'm tired of it. And I've complained multiple times. I have a list of emails yay long that could run out of this fucking room about all the complaints I have. They don't do anything. So why should I care? Why should I care? Anyway, I wanted to vent. I wanted to get that out. I'm not hourly. I'm salary. I wanted to get that out, but I work for fucking Tyrant. I do. All right. Let's get it back to our sole focus here in trying to raise money for Karen Reed. Click that link there. Let's do a direct donation. Put LTL in your comments section so we can track it. And Lauren, my wonderful friend Lauren DC has been tracking this. So let's see what we can come up with tonight. Let's get back to Mr. I don't remember Brian Albert on the witness stand.
May I approach you?
Yes. Show Mr. Lally.
I'm sorry.
I have called this out to HR for a
So you don't have to
year
read the
of the
entire
things
thing.
that this guy has done,
There's
and they
a
do
word
nothing.
that's-
They don't care.
there's a word that's-
So why should I care?
If you would read that area, the next few sentences.
We're working on it, Lisa.
Let me know when you're finished.
I know. Look, here's the thing. I've been a boss before. Okay, I'm actually in a supervisory position right now, but I've run the type of business I'm in. I've run those businesses before. Okay, and any policy change or anything that's going on inside of that facility, I would literally look at my employees that are under me because it's called respect and courtesy and say, hey, we're having a tough time. We need to get ahead. Would any of you be willing to do X? Could you stay an extra half an hour a night? Could you stay an extra hour a night? There's pay in it for you. You're going to get paid for it. But here's an opportunity to pick up a few more bucks in your pocket if you want to help me out. I've always done that. And I've always at least given a 2-week warning. Hey, just a reminder that we all agreed on 2 weeks from now, the schedule is going to be X. And it was just like, no, I changed it. Oh, okay. Well, thanks for getting us involved. And that's the environment I've been in for the last almost 2 years. 2 years I've been in this environment. Fucking Tyrant. Yeah.
Yes.
I wish I could, Joanna. Listen,
Trevor, did you
here's
have
the
an
thing.
opportunity to review that portion of
Insurance, dental, rent for this place, rent from my house, insurance, car payment, credit card bills, internet bills. I think you know what I'm getting at. We don't make that much. We don't make that much. I wish I did. I would love to do this full time. I really would. But I'm a very long ways away out from doing that. And it'd be a great job to get up here with a microphone, a couple of nights a week and scream into it and be able to pay my bills. I hope that's my dream. That has been my dream from doing this day one from 5 years ago. But I have a long way to go before that's going to probably be possible. But it would be the ultimate job. It really would. I could set my own schedule. I'd be able to get more involved, which would be great. I could spend more time on certain things and researching and getting excellent content. It's tough when you work, 40 plus hours a week and you're doing that full time. And then you're trying to keep up on everything. And then you kind of do this full time as well and try to dedicate as much time as this that you can. It's tough. It really is. Balancing two lives. And then outside of that, trying to balance my personal life and my family life and friends. And, it's a lot. It is a lot. But I've always just said, if I can, make enough to make the rent for this studio right now and keep this studio open so I can have this wonderful place that I'm in, invite guests in and have a lot of fun in here. That's all that matters right now. I don't care. Just to make the rent. Let's make rent so we can keep LTL studios open. So maybe someday we'll get there. That is my dream.
About conversations you had along with your wife with Officer Lang.
Yes.
Isn't it true that Officer Lank asked you and your wife, who else was in the house that night, aside from the names already mentioned? And the names mentioned were Brian Albert Jr., Caitlin Albert, Julie Nagel, and Brian Higgins, quote, who was a friend of
We
Brian
had
Albert Sr.,
a
end quote. Is that right?
$75 donation from a person that wanted to stay anonymous and just said they're really loving the show, and I really appreciate that. So we'll add $75 here. And again, let's keep trying to make those direct donations into Karen Reed's defense website as well, too. All right, let's keep going here.
That's what the report says, yes.
And then the report goes on to say, they advised me that their daughter Caitlin left the house around 12:15 a.m. when she was picked up by her boyfriend, Mr. Morris, right?
That's what the report says, yes.
Do you think Officer Lank got it wrong?
Perhaps, yes.
Did you say that Caitlin left about 12:15?
No,
Did Nicole say in your presence that Caitlin left about 12:15?
she did not.
At any point, did Officer Lank ask you what time Caitlin left?
I don't recall him asking that. It was a very chaotic morning, and I don't remember him saying that.
So in fact, if he wrote that.
Thank you, Heather.
sentence in the report, which you just
We
read,
did.
He's just making that up.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
I'll ask it a different way. If that's what Officer Lank recalls, he's just wrong.
Yes,
Anything else that he's wrong about in there?
I didn't read the whole report.
At no point, isn't it true that at no point during that interview did you admit or mention that Colin Albert had been at the house that night?
I don't believe I did, no.
At no point during that interview did your wife, Nicole, in your presence, admit or mention that Colin Albert was in the house that night?
No.
So did both of you conveniently forget that Colin was there?
Objection.
I'll ask it a different way.
Sustained.
Did you forget that Colin had been there?
No,
Is there a reason that you left his name out?
because he wasn't there. He left when we got there. He wasn't there for the duration of the time that we had that night.
Except for the fact that you just testified, you never saw him.
Well, he said he was getting picked up, and then he was gone, so I assumed he left.
People say a lot of things, but you didn't see him leave, and you didn't see him in the regular floor of the house, according to you, correct?
Right,
Ground floor of the house.
right. He was no longer in my house, so he left.
Well, you didn't search the house, did you?
No.
And you never saw him leave.
I didn't physically see him leave, no.
You also gave a statement to Michael Proctor later that morning. It was about noon, maybe it was in the afternoon, noon, 12:30.
Thank you,
something like
Shameless Justice. Appreciate that.
Are you asking?
that. On the 29th, you later, after you spoke with Officer Lank, you later were interviewed by Trooper Michael Proctor over at Jim Cade's house. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Colin's name was never mentioned then either.
No, because Colin wasn't at the house for the duration of the night.
So when they said who was in the house, talked about Brian Albert, Caitlin Albert,
Yes,
folks in the house,
yes.
Nagel,
There were other people in the house prior to us arriving. I didn't mention them either.
who's that?
There were some females, friends that were over prior to our arrival, and
But you never even saw them.
no,
So you have no idea who was there and who wasn't there before you got there.
no, I know that there were people at the house prior to me getting there.
Mr. Albert, the question that had been posed to you by several officers was, who did you see in your home? when
You
got
nervous.
there, correct?
Objection.
No, I'll allow it.
I don't believe that's how it was asked, no.
But Colin's name
nervous
was never
Nelly.
mentioned, left out.
I testified multiple times that Colin was there when we arrived.
Oh, you did it after the fact, right?
Yes, when I was at,
You knew that the defense knew that Colin was there.
objection.
Sustained.
In your initial reports to the police, his name was never mentioned, was it?
I did not mention it, no.
And Nicole did not mention it in your presence, did she?
In my presence, no.
Let's talk about Caitlin Albert, your eldest. You told Officer Lank that your daughter, well, according to Officer Lank, let me rephrase the question based on our colloquy back and forth. According to Officer Lank, you're aware that he wrote, he was told she was gone by 12:15, correct?
That's what he wrote in the report, yes.
If Caitlin was gone by 12:15, she would not have been there when John and Karen arrived to the house, correct? Because they didn't arrive for 15 minutes later.
But she was at the house, so that would be hypothetical.
So, fine, hypotheticals, let me ask you a hypothetical. If in fact,
So I'll answer your question, Diamond Jack. The reason I do this is because I want to. And I wanted to create an experience where I could have people come in and sit down like a legitimate podcast studio. And that is my dream to do that. The problem is just finding guests. A lot of the guests that come on our shows live far away. So in due time, I will be able to do that. And it's just elevating the experience of what I want here. I want to be here. I want to be able to be in a place that I can make as much noise because I talk loud. and I get wild sometimes, and I can't do that. I live in an apartment. So if I'm talking right now at 10 p.m. at night, my neighbor upstairs has to listen to me, and my neighbor downstairs has to listen to me. And unfortunately, my apartment building has very thin walls. You can hear a mouse fart in that place. And the coolest thing is I've had some amazing guests come in here. That wall over there is pretty full. And those lives that we've had creates a completely different experience than doing it virtually. Completely different experience. And this is my dream, to be here, to be in a place like this. So yeah, I do need this place to be creative and to have a place and come hang out. And I've had friends up here, and we hang out and we do lives, and it's great. It's a fun time. And it's just a better experience. It's a better overall experience for me. I can concentrate. I can come here. It's quiet here during the day. I can create. If I need to cut a video together, I can just come up here and turn the cameras and lights on and have a beautiful place to be in, to hang out. I have a lounge, which is cool. It's just a nice place to get away from home and keep this separate from home. Because what I was finding was, when I had this in doing this at my house, it was interfering with my personal life. So I really wasn't separating personal from YouTube. It just was becoming one. And it was just too convenient to just flip the camera on all the time. And I wasn't getting downtime. I wasn't getting time away. And now I have to physically drive here and turn the lights on and come in. And I want to do this, and I can. So that's why I do it. And I enjoy it. And I have some guests that will be coming in during the trial, and they'll be here in front of me live. One of the biggest inspirations of all time is, for me, is Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan has live guests in his studio all the time, and I will get to that level someday. And that's what I'm striving for, but it just takes time. And I just go back to like the E channel when Howard Stern used to be on. And I used to love that. Howard just be standing, sitting behind his console, and there's live actual people in front of him. It is a totally different experience when you have someone sitting in front of you and you're interviewing them. I truly believe that. The virtual stuff is great, but to have people in front of you, completely different experience. I want to do this. This is what I want to do. And this is a motivating factor of me to do this. And I can do it. I have the ability to do it. I don't have kids. I don't have pets. I rent, so I have the income to do this. And you can't, if you are going for your dream, you have to push yourself. And this is step one. And I truly believe that if you believe in yourself, you can make things happen. 100%. But if you sit back and just think about it, it's never going to happen. And it's cool. In studio, I got a marquee out there on Route 1, which is badass. It's cool. And it's something that I strive for and worked for and saved for to be able to do this. I've been saving all my YouTube money. I don't spend it. I just put it away. And then when I need to do something, I said, all right, let's get some money together. We'll use that money. We'll bump it up next year. Let's go get a studio. I had a wonderful person in my life that found the first room that I rented in this place, and it went really well. And we just kept putting money aside, and then it gave me the ability to come into a bigger room and a bigger space. And it's inspiring and it's creative, and that's why you do it. You go for it. So yeah, I do need this space, and I enjoy being here. So that's it. So let's just do this. Let's go down to Bev's rubber stamp. Thank you so much. And for the person that went me, hey, I'm just being real. I'm answering a question that's in the chat. If you don't like it, then just don't watch my channel. It's fine. I'm one of the most least me fucking people. Okay. So that means that you haven't even watched anything about this channel. I'm one of the most giving people back to everything that I do here to help my community and raise funds off this channel to give back to my community, to good people that need it right now. So, stop with the me thing. You crack me up when you guys come in here and do that. The trolls that come in. If you don't like it, then fucking go out and do something in your life that you want to strive for. That is one of the most rewarding things to do in your life, to create a dream, to have a passion, to have a vision, and fucking make it happen. You can celebrate that. You can be proud about that. There are proud accomplishments of things that I've done here on this platform. For Christ's sakes, I got to interview Turtle Boy before. That's pretty fucking amazing. That's pretty fucking amazing. And amongst all the other people that I've been able to I would never think that I'd come in contact with, and to say, hey, yeah, I will come on and tell you my story and talk about my expertise. That's pretty cool to have a public forum to do that and have people come in and watch that material. I think it's pretty cool. It's something to strive for. So, but Bev's Rubber Stamp, thank you for the $5. If you were hired with a contract, you can't change the hours. I'm not a contract person. Let's see, $5 here. Keep living your dream. Absolutely. It's always good to strive for something. Diamond Jack, not your business. Yeah, whatever. $2. Thank you. All right, let's go back to Brian Albert here.
By 12:15, that would mean hypothetically she would not have been there when John and Karen arrived 15 minutes later.
Objection.
Sustained.
I mean, it's if you set we have to set goals in our life, people. You have to conquer the world. You have to have accomplishments, and it's okay to be proud of the things that you do. That's what life is about. Exploring all those possibilities, the things that could be. And then what if we didn't take those risks? What if we went left instead of right? What if we went right instead of left? That is life, living in the very moment that we live in and not worrying about what's going to happen to the next. Just let it organically happen. That's pretty cool. And I'm fucking happy right now that I'm on this earth. And in 5 days, I'm going to be 47 years old. I would have never thought I would have made it to 47. And I hope I live another 47 years. And I hope that you're all here along with this journey, however long this channel lasts. But it's been pretty cool, the things that we've been able to do here together and share those experiences. And I've literally had people email me or just even say in the chat. I remember this girl that I used to speak to from Philadelphia. She was struggling with drugs and alcohol, and she was a military veteran. And she said, hey, I came across your channel, and I had been watching you for a couple of weeks. And through your conversations and through the people that come into your chat, it inspired me to get sober. And I remember her saying, I've been sober for 5 days. 5 days sober after many, many years of not being sober. That there was an inspiration here from this channel and this chat that encouraged her to do that. And I stayed in contact with her for a little while afterwards. I don't know what happened, but we used to email quite frequently back and forth. And I kept encouraging, just keep going. And unfortunately, I lost touch. And I hope that she's well. And it's cool even just to hear stories like that. That's what this was all about. If I can take people away from their headaches and their stresses and those things in life that we all deal with for a couple of hours a night and give them some enjoyment, some laughs, or some information to have things that they think about, that's pretty cool. I would have never thought that 800 people would ever watch me in a room, or 800 people can collectively come together on a certain night and have a common interest and be here to support a woman that's being framed by North Fork County. That's pretty cool that you can get people in here with a common interest to do that and support them financially to get them out of this mess. So listen, I'm sorry I ranted for so long, but it's how I feel. And that's why I wanted to do this and start this platform, is just to help. That's it. And wherever that goes, I don't know. You know, maybe it goes on to bigger and better things someday. Hopefully, I'd love to see this platform flourish. All right, let's keep going here. Brian Albert.
By Officer Lank that morning, other people were in the room, not just you and Officer Lank, correct?
Yes, I wouldn't
Thank you so
consider
much
that
for the
morning
membership.
to be an interview with
Appreciate
Officer Lank.
More conversation.
Yes,
During that conversation, Nicole was there.
yes,
She was in earshot.
yes,
When she was involved in the conversation, you were within earshot.
yes.
Brian Jr. would have been within earshot.
Brian Jr. wasn't downstairs most of that morning, so he may not have been.
But he was there for part of the thing.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that he was there at the time. My Officer Lank was asking questions.
The fact of the matter is, notwithstanding what Officer Lank wrote.
Thank you,
said
Courtney's.
about Caitlin
Appreciate
leaving at
that.
12:15, he did not leave at 12:15. Is that right?
She did not know.
As a matter of fact, in truth, except for the people who lived there, Caitlin was the very last person to leave that location that morning, correct?
I believe so, yes.
And she's admitted that she did not leave until nearly 2 a.m., 1:45, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
You're aware that she did not leave until 1:45 or thereafter. Is that right?
I believe that's around the time, yes.
It's a good friend right here. Lawrence says, Brian, you have been a great friend to me these last several months while I've been gone through some personal struggles. I really appreciate your friendship and fuck the haters. And this is what it's about. I never would have came in contact with this wonderful, beautiful person, this soul, to come into my life and give me this newfound friendship. You know how many people I've met through this? Great salt of the earth people. I'm so fucking glad that I'm here with this microphone and this camera and being able to get out there and meet these people. And it's been incredible. It's been a really cool ride. It really has. All right, let's go here. I don't think we're going to make it through it, but we'll do the pirouette.
Would not be wrapped up in this investigation.
No.
But as a reminder, when you were spoken to by the first two officers who discussed who was in the house, you never mentioned Colin was even there, correct?
Objection.
We've gone over that. Next question, please. Sustained.
If Colin was gone, just like Caitlin was gone, that would eliminate them from ever being at the house at the same time as John O'Keefe and Karen Goon, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
On January 29th, about 11.
All right, $20 donation just came in from, oh, my phone sucks. Andrea, thank you so much. $20 says, you're a great guy, Brian. Free Karen Reed. I appreciate it.
30 or 12.
Thank you.
We talked about the fact that you were interviewed by.
All right, we got
Michael Proctor at
$275.
Advocacy House, correct?
Yes.
We're trying here. I don't think I'm going to beat Mike's $5,000 tonight. My show's not as
About
funny.
Her understanding of what had happened the night before.
Objection.
Sustained.
You were notified that the state police were going to interview Jen McCabe.
Objection.
I'll allow it. Were you notified that?
No.
You knew the subject matter of an interview with Jen McCabe was going to happen over, the subject matter of the night before was going to happen over at Jen McCabe's house. That's why you went there, right?
Objection. No.
I'll allow it.
No.
Isn't it true that you knew you had been notified, or at least you believed that an interview with Jen McCabe as part of an official police investigation was going to occur at her house?
Yes.
You were not asked by the police to join her, correct?
No.
You had no official reason to be at Jen McCabe's house, correct?
What do you, I don't know what you mean by official reason.
You were not working the investigation yourself.
No.
You were a witness, correct?
Right.
So you had no official reason to be at Jen McCabe's house during an interview with Jen McCabe.
Objection.
No, I'll allow it.
No.
So, but before she gave her statements, you made sure that you were right there to monitor that interview and exactly what was said, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Were you in her house when Jen McCabe was interviewed by Michael Proctor?
Her house, yes.
You had gone to her house, correct?
I did.
You went there before she gave the interview.
Yes.
So you were there in her house during the entirety of her interview, correct?
I believe so, yes.
And importantly, Jen McCabe knew you were in her house during that interview, correct?
I assume she knew, yes.
I mean, you're in her house after all.
Yes.
I want to get back to 34 Fairview if I could. in the early morning hours of January 29th, Brian Higgins directly followed you into the house after you walked in, correct?
Could you rephrase that?
Sure. You walked in, even though there were some moving of cars, you were the first one to walk into the house. Brian Higgins followed you.
Yes.
Nicole and Caitlin then came in shortly after that.
I think Nicole and Caitlin probably came in around the same time as me.
Did you make
And
another-
then Brian Higgins.
Sorry. Did you make another drink once you walked into the house?
Did I make a drink?
Did you make a drink? Grab a beer?
Yes.
Okay. When I say make a drink, did you get a drink?
Yes.
What drink did you get?
I don't know. Probably just would have been whatever was at the house, a beer or something.
Okay. Did Higgins have another drink?
I don't know.
What did you do? What did you and Brian Higgins do once you were inside the house?
We just kind of hung out, talked.
At any point, did you and Brian Higgins go down to the basement?
No, I don't remember going to the basement.
You don't remember going to the basement, or you didn't go to the basement?
No, I didn't go to the basement.
Did Brian Higgins go to the basement?
Not that I know of.
And you didn't go upstairs, to the second floor, did you?
I think I did go upstairs, yes.
Isn't it true that Brian Higgins has never been upstairs in your house?
Prior to that night?
Ever, including that night specifically?
I said that he got attack of the nervous Nellies all of a sudden when he started asking about Higgins and going into the basement. His tongue was flopping around everywhere, dry mouth.
I don't think that's true, no.
You owned a dog at the time, correct?
Yes,
The German Shepherd named Chloe.
yes, mix.
Describe that dog as being not great with strangers. Isn't that true?
I did describe it that way, yes.
You testified that, quote, it started barking because it realized that people were downstairs, end quote, right?
Yes.
Chloe had a penchant for barking when she heard people, correct?
No, not necessarily.
She did that night.
Yeah, I think she wanted to use the bathroom.
Well, that's not what you said in your testimony. You said it started barking because it realized there were people downstairs, right?
Right.
So your German Shepherd, probably a decent guard dog, if she heard commotion and people, she would bark.
Objection.
Sustained. You can ask it differently.
Obviously, if Chloe hears commotion and people, she's apt to bark. That's the only question.
No,
So just that night, out of nowhere, first time ever, Chloe starts barking when people walk into the house.
no, it's not the first time ever, but she didn't bark often.
Okay, but she did bark that night, right?
Yes,
And the reason that you gave under oath for why she started barking was because there were people downstairs knowing about, right?
yes,
So in that instance, on January 29th, in the early morning hours, she was barking because she heard people.
well, I can't say why she was barking.
Well, you did say why she was
Yeah.
barking,
I let her out to use the bathroom, so I think that's probably why.
except your testimony was it started barking because it realized there were people downstairs. Those are your words, Mr. Albert, not
Right,
mine.
okay.
Catherine, thank you so much for the $10. She said, happy early birthday. Thank you so, so much. I appreciate that.
You stand by those?
Yes,
You ultimately did let Chloe out to go to the bathroom, correct?
yes,
And then you allowed her to stay downstairs and you monitored her with the others who were in the house. Isn't that right?
yes,
As a matter of fact, you testified in that state grand jury, the same April grand jury, April of 2022. So I let it go out to the bathroom. I let it back in. I kind of monitored it a little because we usually don't have people over the house and the dog's not great with strangers, period. So I was just making sure that the dog was all right with the people that were over, end quote, correct?
yes,
So in fact, you did keep Chloe downstairs at least for a period of time with people that were over, right?
yes, for a few minutes, I think.
Mr. Albert, after you learned that there were questions being raised about John's injuries and dog bites and scratches, in May of 2022, you got rid of that dog, did you not?
Objection.
Sustained. You can ask it.
All right, we're trickling in. They're trickling in a little bit. Thank you, everybody. Every little bit counts.
Chloe was rehomed in May
And we can use
2023.
whatever words we want to. Rehomed, rehoused, whatever, but you got rid of her. She's no longer part of the Albert family, right?
Objection.
Allow that.
Right.
When did you get rid of her?
So Chloe was rehomed in, I believe, May
Of 2022,
of 2022.
just months after the incident we were discussing.
Well, after it was involved, she was involved in a dog fight with another dog out front.
Oh,
That's also after the incident we
Yes.
were discussing.
Yes, May,
That's a family pet that you had had for 6 years or 7 years.
approximately 6 or 7 years. Not
Your
sure.
explanation just now for having gotten rid of that dog is because it bit another dog and ultimately sent 2 women to the hospital, correct?
I believe 2 women went to the hospital. Yes,
But you took no action to get rid of Chloe until after you knew that serious questions were being raised about John O'Keefe's,
objection.
correct?
Sustained.
At some point, you did realize there were questions being raised about John O'Keefe's injuries on his arm, correct?
Objection.
Don't allow that. Did you realize that?
I heard some talk about it, yes.
As of January of 2022, John O'Keefe had never been in your house, had he?
John O'Keefe was never in my house before or after that date.
Certainly, John O'Keefe, you would agree with me, he would count, were he in your house, he would count as a stranger to Chloe. Never met her.
Hypothetically, yes.
I want to ask a couple of questions about your house. I know there's multiple bedrooms. Are all the bedrooms on the top floor?
I love this.
Yes.
Okay. How many bedrooms?
I love this.
5.
As we're looking at your house, from the street, looking at your house, are your bedroom windows, your and Nicole's bedroom windows, visible from the street?
Yes.
Which windows would they be?
If you were facing the house, they would be far left corner.
Upper or lower?
Upper.
Upper left corner.
Yes.
How many windows? 3 or 2 serve as that bedroom?
2.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, could I display Exhibit 66?
Okay.
You see what is displayed on that?
Microdots.
Yes.
What does that appear to be to you?
The house at 34 Fairview Road.
Okay. Understanding this is a graphic representation, not a photograph. Do you see the windows that you just described?
I love all the
Your bedroom
flagpoles there. That's great.
on that graphic?
Yes.
Are they? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Upper left, 2 windows, correct?
Yes.
And those overlook what part of the lawn?
The front lawn.
Okay. Front lawn toward the left side of the house, not toward the driveway, correct?
Right. I mean, it's the whole front lawn, but yeah.
Right. So they're toward the left side of the house.
The windows are, yes. Are they
Michelle, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships. That's a $25 spot. We'll put that up and welcome in new members. Thank you so, so much. Yes, shout out to Microdots. Love it. Let's keep going.
asked about the view?
Right.
So the view's the whole front yard.
I'm just trying to make the record, the spoken record as clear as possible.
Right.
They're on the left side of the house.
Yes.
They directly overlook this portion of the lawn, the left side of the lawn,
Yes.
furthest from the driveway.
Yes.
We can take that down. Where's your bed, or where was your bed inside that room, as relates to the windows?
I'm just trying to think of how to describe it. So the bed would be in the middle of the bedroom.
Okay, it's a bad question on my part because we haven't been there. Let's do it this way. How many feet from the windows would the closest part of your bed be to those windows?
Maybe 5 feet. 6 feet.
You indicated that Nicole came to bed about 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
Where was the dog?
The dog was in my room.
And she was sleeping on a mat in your room.
Yes.
And that mat is also about 6 feet from the windows.
Yes.
I'm just going to stop this for a second. Dog owners. I'm speaking to the dog owners. Okay. Speaking directly to the dog owners. If your dog sleeps in your room with you, on the floor, on the bed, whatever it may be, and there is first responders that are coming down the street and there's lights flashing. Let's just say they don't go full blown whalers, put the whalers on, but you can hear them, like ambulance, when you hear those chains that are clinking, that your dog wouldn't jump up with all of that parked in front of the house and bark and alert you. I find that almost impossible. And we're going to hear it. Oh, I didn't hear anything.
6 feet being from me to Miss Little, maybe this far?
Could be, yes. Maybe a little further, but yes.
Maybe this far?
Maybe.
It's a relatively quiet street generally, Fairview.
Yes.
Not an enormous amount of through traffic.
No.
Not a busy freeway or a highway, correct?
No.
Not an especially noisy street.
So what AJ is trying to establish here is the dog wouldn't be used to this. It's not a high traffic area. It's not a busy street. Loud things don't come down. And it was basically saying that what I was just saying, that this should alert the dog. I mean, literally alert the dog. I'd love to do an experiment with this, but I don't have a dog. I could prove this in like 2 seconds.
The street, no.
Especially at 6 a.m. on Saturday morning, right?
Right.
Where were you at 6:03 on the morning of January 29th, 2022?
I was sleeping in my room.
6 feet from that window.
Yes.
Was Nicole in bed with you?
Yes.
Had you taken any medication the night before?
No.
Were you on any sedatives?
No.
Sleeping pills?
No.
Drinking.
Were you wearing a sleep apnea machine?
Yes.
No.
Were you wearing an eye mask?
No.
Were you wearing earplugs?
No.
You shortly thereafter became aware that 6 emergency vehicles,
I wear an eye mask, by the way.
police cruisers,
I can't sleep
and
without
unmarked
one.
police vehicles, civilian SUV, were all parked in front of your house that morning, correct?
I'm not aware of what type of vehicles were parked there, no.
You've seen photographs since this incident?
Of the vehicles out front?
Right.
No.
Um, Are you aware that all of those vehicles had their engines running?
No.
Are you aware that all the emergency vehicles at least had their lights on, flashing lights?
No.
Were you aware that there were a number of first responders outside their vehicles traipsing around your lawn?
Was I aware?
Were you aware at the time?
No.
Were you aware that there were emergency responders, first responders, who were talking to each other over the din of the wind and the snow?
What?
To communicate with each other?
No.
You're aware that there were 3 women on your lawn at one point?
Just only after the fact.
And at least one of those women was screaming to the top of her lungs at 6:03?
No.
Again, your German Shepherd was 6 feet from the window, correct?
I don't know that for sure.
That's where Matt was.
Well, that doesn't mean that's where she always is. She also sleeps in the closet area sometimes.
Oh, so now Chloe's in the closet.
I didn't say she was in the closet. I said she sleeps in the closet area sometimes.
Was she sleeping in the closet area that morning?
I don't remember.
Likelihood is she was sleeping on that mat 5 or 6 feet from that window, correct?
Judge, I don't know.
And your explanation, and by the way, we've already talked about this. Earlier that day, you've already indicated she was barking because she heard people and noises downstairs when you guys came in the house.
Yes.
And your explanation is that you and Nicole and Chloe, the German
I
Shepherd,
agree.
all slept through the entirety of that commotion on your front lawn.
Yes.
To be clear, you are a trained first responder.
Yes.
Yet during that entire event, after you were awakened, all that chaos on your front lawn, you never came out of your house
Yep.
to assist or investigate. in
Fucking
any manner
scumbag.
whatsoever. Did you, Mr. Albert?
Once I was awakened?
Correct.
No.
We've talked about this a little bit, but I want to ask you a couple of other
You
questions
gotta be
about-
fucking kidding me. You gotta be fucking kidding me. That if you're awakened and there's literally flashing lights and you're a trained police officer, you wouldn't even be fucking curious to look out the window. You wouldn't be fucking curious to go down and open your door and look out and go, what is going on? That curiosity of that curiosity would catch everybody in the neighborhood. Here's an example. Last year, I think last winter, I was at home and I'm in my bedroom. It's late and I had just laid down. Haven't even put my eye mask on yet. Starting to get my phone ready because I listen to podcasts at night to fall asleep. And all of a sudden, through my drawn curtains, it just got really bright all of a sudden outside, right? Bright. And then I started seeing the strobes. And I run to my window and look out and look to the left, and 2 houses down, the top floor of the fucking house is on fire. I mean, and everybody in that entire neighborhood, in my entire neighborhood, came outside to see what was going on. I mean, that's how quick everybody responded to that. And it wasn't like, like the emergency response. They didn't come out with wailers on. You could hear them coming down the street. They got the hoses turned on. And thankfully, this lady, she had to like jump down to the second floor but she ended up being okay. But it was crazy. I mean, people jumped up right away and everybody ran outside. Like, what is going on? and you're sitting here watching, this third floor on a house burning, you would jump up in 2 seconds. 2 seconds, you would be out there. Let's see. Much love from New Zealand. RJNZ checking in. Look at this. $5 free Karen Reed. Thank you for being here tonight. Yes. Why go outside when you can just stay home in your slippers and stay warm? That's the craziest. No, I didn't go out.
Layout of the house. The house is sitting on top of a basement, correct?
Yes.
Or was at the time. Describe how you get to the basement from inside the house if you come in the front door. And when I say, I'm sorry to do this, I don't mean to interrupt you. There's 2 front doors that you go in, correct?
Yes.
For purposes of my question, Mr. Albert, I'm going to talk about the one that's right in front of you, the obvious one, as the front door, and the one to the right of it as you're looking at the house as the side door.
Okay.
Because I don't know how else to describe it. If you come in the front door, describe for the jurors, where is the basement door as compared to that?
So you walk straight ahead. You pass the kitchen dining room area opening on your right-hand side, and there's a door on the left.
How many paces? The door opens. How many paces to walk over and grab that door handle?
I'm not sure, maybe 10?
10 full paces.
Maybe, yeah.
So
Maybe 8, maybe 8.
Albert, it's about 4 long steps, correct?
Well, I don't know. You asked paces, so 6 feet,
6 feet.
6 to 8 feet, maybe.
Got it. What was the basement used for in January 2020?
Lauren.
So the basement had a weight room in
Thank
one
you,
of the rooms,
Michelle.
and
Appreciate that.
the other room was nothing at the time. It had been damaged or water damage due to an overflowed toilet.
So part of the flooring had been ripped up,
Yes,
and that opened up some slab concrete downstairs.
yes,
There was also some plywood downstairs.
yes,
There were a couple of mats where the actual weights were, so they're not slamming down onto concrete.
yes,
But there was a good amount of that floor that was just exposed concrete.
yes,
The workout equipment would include things like what? Barbells, dumbbells,
yes,
heavy weights,
yes,
heavy bars.
Yep.
Made from metal.
yep.
So I'm seeing something here, and I'm watching this. So look at Liza. She's listening to Brian Albert give his testimony, and watch. She keeps peeking at the jury, and I'm wondering if she's writing notes about like jury response or something like that. I mean, I don't know. I'm just taking a guess. But she's looking at Brian Albert, listening to him, and then we'll look at the jury after one of his responses. Just make a note of this. So we're up at $350 in the defense fund link, direct donations. Thank you so much. And then, of course, we'll be making a donation at the end of the night tonight. Maybe we can get to like 500, 600, 700, $1,000 to be great, right? I don't think I'm going to beat Mike's $5,000, but if we get a couple $100 in there, hey, every little bit counts. All right, let's play this here.
Once you're down in the basement, by the way, there's 2 flights that you go down at angles to get to the basement. A series of steps, a landing, take a left, another series of steps, and you stand on the basement.
Yes, not a long staircase, very small, but
Right. I mean, it's narrow and tight, but in other words, you don't just walk straight down the staircase. You go down to a landing, turn left,
turns a little.
go down, turn left again, and now you're in the basement. If you wanted to move something large or heavy out of that basement without having to go through the house, could you do that?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Could you rephrase the question?
I'll say it again. If you wanted to move something large or heavy
Eliza goes
out
to
of that
writing.
basement without having to go through the main house, could you do that?
Yes, I mean, it would depend what it was, obviously, how big it was, or
Human body.
there's a bulkhead door you can use.
Got it. Where does that bulkhead door come out?
It comes out to the backyard right at the kitchen area. You can
Oh, look at this.
see it from the kitchen.
Julie, all the way from Melbourne, Australia. Let me see if I can get this to open up again. Of course, it's not going to open. I just had a good preview. Julie, all the way from Melbourne, Australia, a $5 PayPal says, Brian, what can I say? You are the most generous, nicest guy, generous person going around. Watching you all the way from Melbourne, Australia. Well, thank you so much, Julie. I appreciate that. That's cool. We got Melbourne checking in tonight. Thank you so much for being here.
And right to the left of that is the side fence.
Yes.
And directly through that side fence is the front yard.
Yes.
The same side of the front yard
Let's get to butt dials. How about we do that?
out the phones. I just can't say if he said he was going to get rid of his phone or not.
All right, let's
Brian Higgins, about your phones and possibly getting rid of your phones,
hear.
right?
No, I don't think that's what I said.
You two discussed the fact that you both wanted to get rid of your phones.
I don't remember having that conversation with Brian Higgins at all.
Your testimony was, quote, "I know there were conversations about the phones, sir." Correct?
Correct if that's what you read.
So if you're having conversations with Brian Higgins about the phones, what the heck were you talking about?
I don't know the timing of when they asked when those conversations were.
Mr. Albert,
So
I'm leaving it open to you. I don't care when it was. I'm asking you, have you ever had a conversation with Brian Higgins about your phones, respectively?
we may have, I can't remember that conversation specifically.
Then why, in June of 2023,
Did you
did you
destroy them?
testify, "I know there were conversations about the phones with Brian Higgins," end quote?
I'm not sure of the context of that.
So now you just can't remember.
No, I don't think I could remember during that testimony either. I think if you read the whole thing, I think I said, I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Your quote was, "I know there were conversations about the phones. I just can't say if he said he was going to get rid of his phone or not," end
Right,
quote.
right.
Does that help refresh your recollection?
Yes.
So now as you sit here and you answer my question, did you and Brian Higgins have a conversation about your phones?
I don't remember having that conversation with Brian Higgins.
All right, let's shift gears.
Did you hear AJ just goes, like, come on, dude.
Before I shift gears, you're aware that Brian Higgins has also gotten rid of his phone, correct?
I am not aware of that until after the time you're talking about.
So without qualifying your answer, answer my question. As you sit here, you're aware that Brian Higgins has also gotten rid of his phone.
I know at some point Brian
Yes
Higgins,
or no, Mr. Albert?
did he?
Objection, Your Honor.
Can you answer that, yes or no, sir?
Yes.
Now I'd like to shift gears. Talk a little bit about Michael Proctor. Did Michael Proctor come into your home at 34 Fairview on January 29th?
Do we miss the butt dial?
That's a coincidence. Answer, yes.
Objection, move to strike.
Let it be preserved.
No.
Because you know that if you got rid of that phone after you had been, and got rid of it in total, correct?
I upgraded my phone on,
Okay,
Let's see. Is this the butt dial part?
all right.
One of your little
Next
butt
question.
dial.
Thank you, Your Honor. Isn't it true that you were in fact ordered to preserve your cell phone by the Commonwealth
at some point I was made aware.
without having to go through the main house? Could you do
Okay.
Brian Higgins about your phones and possibly getting rid of your phones? Third, that Michael Proctor interviewed your wife. Then he would not have come into your home on the 29th. Third, no,
That they were featured in a show? No.
you were never shown on TV in a ring sparring with somebody.
I may have been shown training, but I don't think
I'll find the butt dial.
I was having a boxing match. No.
Okay, that's I wasn't suggesting that you.
I was playing around, sort of getting in a boxing stance.
Otherwise known as the fighting stance, correct?
Yeah, for a second, yes.
Okay. And what did Brian Higgins do? You got into a fighting stance.
It looked like he was kind of doing the same thing.
Got
We
into a
just,
fighting stance as well, correct?
yeah,
What were you two talking about? You tell you're talking.
yeah. I don't know what we were talking about. We were just being silly, fooling around, having fun.
Were you giving him advice on the proper way to get into a fighting stance or a boxing stance?
No,
You giving him some advice or some indicators about how to best position himself if someone is taking an aggressive stance against him?
no.
Is he telling you what he thought was a good technique for fighting or boxing?
I don't think it was that serious. We were just playing, fooling around.
But both of you were in fighting stances facing off against each other, correct?
Yeah, for a second or two.
And Mr. Higgins, you saw him bob his head and start walking up toward you like a boxer might, correct?
Yeah, yes.
And then you got down and pulled your pant legs up and you squatted down to indicate getting low,
That-
having low center of gravity, correct?
That would know that's indicating being silly. That
Okay.
that's
And then at
not-
some point while you're being silly, you then faked a right punch toward him, correct?
I didn't notice that, but I'm not sure.
Can we take a look at the next part of this clip, which is at time of day?
Where's the butt dials? Did I miss it?
Woke up in the morning, you obviously checked your phone, did you not?
I don't. I'm not sure if you have something you can read me or show me.
As a matter of fact, you've been asked this question before, haven't you? Your keys, your wallet, any other pocket items?
No.
Just the phone and your glasses
Yes.
and Nicole's phone,
Yes.
right between the two of you.
Usually, yes.
What about that night?
Yes.
Sir, did you make any phone calls after you went to bed?
Oh, here we go.
1:45 a.m. and 6:30 a.m.
Yes.
Here we go.
Who did you call?
I inadvertently called Brian Higgins.
What time?
I don't recall the exact time. After 2.
2:22 and 35 seconds. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Did you speak to Brian Higgins at any point between 1:45 a.m. and 6:30 a.m. that night?
No.
You say you inadvertently.
So here's the funny
called him
thing.
At 2:20.
Isn't there now that we found out camera footage of Brian Higgins? Brian Higgins being on his phone outside the Canton PD at 1:32 in the morning. So this is pretty close to that 1:45. I want to hear the time. I want to hear what the timing of the calls here were. Let's
22
see.
in the morning.
Yes.
How did you inadvertently call him?
Well, I don't know because it was inadvertent.
So I have to explain that.
Well, it's kind of like a butt dial.
All right. How long have you used an iPhone?
A long time.
You can't butt dial.
In fact, you've been asked this question before, haven't you?
Yes.
Excuse me.
Hence my question. You knew what I was going to ask you.
I do.
Oh, it's wrong.
I always thought it was Higgins. I thought Higgins was calling Brian Albert. That's who I always thought it was. A lot of people have their different theories, but I always thought it was Higgins and Brian Albert. That's what I thought.
You indicated previously at a different hearing in June of 2023 that you were, quote, hanging out with your wife. And you must
Hanging
have butt dialed Mr. Higgins, correct?
Yes.
At 2:22 and 35 seconds on January 29th, 2022, correct?
Yes.
You were asked how that could have happened, much like I just asked how that could have happened, right?
Yes.
And in that hearing, you said, quote, I'm not totally sure.
So 2:22,
Yes.
and we had the 2:27
Here you
Google
added it could have
search.
been a butt dial.
5 minutes later.
Yes.
You were then called back to that same hearing, but at a different date, an ongoing hearing, right?
Yes.
That was in July of 2023, correct?
Yes.
You then changed your testimony and said, and I don't mean to be indelicate, but your testimony was then that you were in an intimate situation, put it that way, with Nicole at the time. And that's how you butt dialed Brian Higgins, correct?
I don't believe I said that's how I butt dialed Brian Higgins.
That's the time.
I think I said there was a time frame that was close.
Okay.
So I didn't say that, no.
What you said was you were in an intimate situation. with
This is
Nicole
so
at the
impossible.
time
So
That the butt dial occurred, correct?
I'm not sure if you have something you can read me or show me.
Is it your testimony? Let me just ask. Is it
Sure.
your testimony that you and your wife were in the middle of some sort of sexual or intimate situation, and that's what caused you to butt dial the phone at that time at 2:22 a.m.?
Objection.
all I picture is like Brian Albert rolling around in the bed with his wife on like a stack of iPhones and his butt like sticking to the iPhone. It's just so fucking obnoxious and impossible. This is so obnoxious.
May I approach people? Yes.
He has like iPhones stuck to his body everywhere. It's just so much.
Sir, I just want to find out if this refreshes your recollection. Look at lines 11 through 13. And then let me know when you're prepared.
Why would your phone be in bed with you when you're with your wife? Doesn't make any sense. People would put their phone on like their nightstand. I don't put my phone under my ass and roll around on it all night. It's just so preposterous.
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
Does that refresh
His
your recollection that
FaceTime.
you indicated at the other hearing that,
Just the first part of that first. Does that refresh your recollection?
It does.
thank you, Your Honor. Isn't it true that at the other hearing, you indicated that at or around the 2:22 timeframe, you and your wife were in bed together in an intimate situation?
Yes, around that time, I think it reads.
Um, May I approach briefly, Your Honor?
Yes.
Well, with the court's permission, let me ask a couple of questions. Do you recall every call that you made between, say, 1:45 a.m. and the next couple of days? You remember every single one of those calls?
No.
Do you think it would refresh your recollection to look at a log of those calls during that time frame? If we're going to discuss those?
Yes.
I want to
May I
see
approach,
this.
Your Honor?
Yes.
All right, we're at 375 on the defense fund. Let's get to 500 bucks. 500 bucks would be great. And then I'm going to make a donation at the end of the stream. We're going to go probably another 30 minutes. About another 30 minutes. If we can get it to 500 bucks, that'll be really great.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
I didn't beat Mike with the
Pay your
$5 grand, but
If it refreshes your recollection as
we'll
to
put a
why
little
this,
bit up there.
With the court's permission, let me know if you need to refer to that.
Right. I'm not going to be able to read it right now. I'll do it as you ask.
Correct, yeah. No, you don't need to read it right now. Just wanted to have it in front of you. By the way, you've seen these records before, correct? At the other hearing proceeding?
I've seen some records before. Yes. I don't know if these exact records are not.
All right, and you've acknowledged that at least the first page, these are your phone records for the number ending 0888, correct?
Yes.
And these are call records from January 29th
Yes.
at 2:22 and 35 seconds in the morning, correct?
Yes.
Whose number ends in 5421?
According to this, it's Brian Higgins.
The call at 2:22 and 35 seconds appears to be 1 second in length, and that's from you to him, correct?
It says 1 second. I don't.
That would be the call, the initial call from you to him, the one that you claim is a butt dial. Is that right?
Yes.
Did that call roll to voicemail? And then you immediately hung up?
No, I don't recall if it, I don't know.
So according to you, it was a butt dial that went to his phone. It somehow lasted 1 second.
Right.
Okay.
Hi, Stan. Thank you so much for the super sticker.
There's
Hi,
a second
Stan,
call at
11.
2:22 and 52 seconds, 17 seconds later, correct?
Yes.
That call is actually from Brian Higgins to you, isn't it?
Yes.
And that call doesn't last 1 second. That call lasts 22 seconds, correct?
Yes.
Obviously, you know how long 22 seconds is.
What's that?
You know how long 22 seconds lasts.
Yes.
So according to your phone records, you placed a call to him, and then 17 seconds later, he returned a call to you that lasted 22 seconds, correct?
That's what the records reflect. Yes.
When you woke up in the morning, you obviously checked your phone, did you not?
I don't know if I did.
Are you telling the jury that the call that came into your phone was a missed call, or did you answer it?
I did not answer it.
So it would have been a missed call.
I just know I didn't answer the call.
So it would have been a missed call.
I don't know.
By definition.
I don't know that to be a fact. I just know I didn't answer the phone call. I missed the call. Yes.
That's what I mean.
Right.
You missed the call.
Right.
It did something on your phone and you just didn't answer. What do you?
Right.
Okay. And again, you're using an iPhone.
Yes.
If you butt dialed Brian Higgins and he called you back and you didn't answer, you would have a very bright red missed call in your call log, correct?
Objection.
Do you know that?
I don't know that.
Have you ever missed a call on your iPhone before?
Yes.
And when you go to your call logs, it says missed call in red, correct? If your wife calls you, your kids call you.
I don't think I've ever noticed that it's in red.
Oh
and
my
So
God.
no, I don't know that to be true.
You gotta be
Certainly
fucking
alerted you.
kidding me. Everybody knows that. I mean, everybody knows that, dude. Like, come on, bro. You're such a fucking liar. Like, here. I mean, you can see red right there. Jeez, come on. Like, bro, you're such a fucking liar. Wendy Joe, thank you so much for the $10. She says, thanks. And thank you, Brian and team Free Karen Reed. Thank you for being here. We're at 352 of room donations tonight. I'm going to donate 25% back to Karen Reed in there. And then Lauren DC is tracking the donations on the defense website. And we'll do some more streams coming up here. I think maybe a lot of people got maybe a little exhausted with my stream. You raised $5,000 last night. That was pretty great. So I'm trying to battle them a little bit here. I'd love to even just get $500 in there tonight. That'd be great. All right. I think I've had enough about butt dials and missing phone calls and all this other stuff. All right. I'm going to do a request that I had from one of my members. She's been a 15-month member here. She wants to see the Trooper Paul pirouette. And let's play through that to end the show. We're going to watch AJ eviscerate Trooper Paul. And we're going to do we'll end the show tonight with the pirouette. All right, let's end here. We'll get this rocking and rolling. Again, I'd love to get at least $500 up on that defense website tonight. So let's do it. And Heather said this is as long as she's been waiting all night to see this. So I'm gonna fill her request. She wanted to see this. Here we go. Trooper Paul.
Ignition cycle necessarily includes the precursor key cycle, correct? Even though every key cycle might not include an ignition cycle. Would you agree with that?
In that scenario, yes.
Fine. Okay, with that definition,
I hope
I want to talk about ignition cycles because I don't want to get confused about accessories. Just assume the engine.
Okay.
turns on, right?
Okay.
If you started your testing at 1164, then if the engine was turned on, thereby indicating initiating a key cycle, driving the car onto a flatbed truck, and then hauling it over to Canton PD, that would be key cycle 1163 in that hypothetical, correct?
It could be.
Okay. Then going backward from there, if the SUV was, I'm sorry, let me add one event that I just forgot. It had to get off the tow truck in Canton and be
might not be the pirouette.
into the Sally Port. Did you ever see that video?
No.
Being driven in?
No.
If there was a video
All right, I'm gonna
showing
try to-
that the car was actually driven into the Sally Port, that would necessarily be a key cycle.
I'm gonna try to page through this.
Possibly.
See if I can get to the
So that
pirouette.
would be
Hang on.
key cycle 1163. My mistake. I was missing one, right?
Okay.
Before that, if the car was turned on and driven onto the flatbed to get to Canton, that would be key cycle 1162 in order, correct? We're going back.
It's possible.
All right. Before that,
This
if
is the
car was
pirouette. It's gonna
started
get there.
and the car was driven from One Meadows Avenue to Karen Reed's parents' home in Dighton, that would be another key cycle, 1161, correct?
They're possible.
Before that, if the SUV was started and driven by Miss Reed from the garage at John O'Keefe's house to Jennifer McCabe's house at 5:07 in the morning, that would be another key cycle, correct? 1160. Isn't that right?
See,
It's
Karen.
possible.
And before that, if the SUV was started and driven by Miss Reed to the waterfall, I'm sorry, from the waterfall to 34 Fairview at approximately 12:15 a.m., that would be another key cycle, 1159, right?
It's possible.
I want to be clear. The reason that these numbers skip in your diagram, they don't go directly in order, right? Not every single number is in order on this left-hand column, because this is only a diagram of when triggering events occur, right?
Yes.
Something unusual about the operation of the vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And it's clear that from the data, there was no triggering event at key cycle 1159, was there?
No.
So assuming the driving events that I just told you, right? Assuming for purposes of my question, that the driving events started at 11:59, driving over to 34 Fairview from the waterfall. Then driving at 5:07 in the morning over to Jen McCabe's house, 11:60. Then driving to Dighton, her parents' house, 11:61. Then the car being seized in Dighton by Trooper Proctor, 11:62. Then the car being taken off the flatbed and driven into the Sally Port, Canton, 11:63. Your testing starts at 11:64. That would mean that at 11:62, that key cycle would include the time in which Trooper Proctor had possession of that car, correct?
No.
Assuming my hypothetical,
Your hypothetical?
yes.
If that's hypothetically how it works, then yes.
Then what?
If that's hypothetically how it works, then yes.
On June 9th, 2022, you were asked by a grand jury whether you knew or had done any scientific testing to determine the distance a body would actually travel struck by a vehicle.
Oh, here we
Remember
go.
that?
Not that specifically. Not in that way.
Do you remember answering that you had not, I'm just paraphrasing, that you had not done you hadn't finished your report yet?
Why don't you show him? He said he didn't remember it that way.
Man, he is nervous. He is nervous, Nelly. He's pulling at his tie. He's pulling at the neck collar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Take a look at middle of the page. Your answer starts at about line 12, but the question above it is probably informative. You have that in mind?
Yep.
May I approach?
Yes.
You were asked, does that remind you that you were asked by a grand juror if you could calculate how far a body would move having been struck by a vehicle?
Yes.
And you indicated, quote, yeah, there's certain calculations we can do with that, but figure out if the car backed up, hit somebody, and then they go a certain amount of distance, and it's based on miles per hour, speed of the vehicle, striking vehicle, and stuff. Remember saying that?
Yes.
What do you mean by stuff?
I don't know.
You said that the calculations would be based on miles per hour and stuff.
Oh, you can't make it up. James, thank you so much for the $15 via Venmo. I appreciate it. We'll add that up into our donation tonight.
Did you ever do any stuff to test that? Grand jury's question.
No, we cannot calculate anything from this collision.
Say that one more time.
We cannot calculate anything from this collision.
Who's we?
Me, the role me.
Well, you know John O'Keefe's weight, right?
What's that?
You know John O'Keefe's weight, 217 pounds, right?
Yes.
Did you know that?
I don't know his weight, no.
You know the weight of the vehicle?
Yes.
What's the weight of the vehicle, gross weight?
What's the gross weight?
Yeah.
I think it's approximately 7,300 pounds.
Okay. Were you able to calculate the mass of the vehicle?
I did not calculate the mass of the vehicle.
Well, you told the grand jury that you were planning on doing that kind of stuff to calculate how far a person would travel being struck at that speed with a car of that weight. You didn't do those calculations?
No, because the calculations would vastly underestimate the speed of the vehicle.
You testified, again, my report isn't done yet. I'm going to look into it. I'm looking into all that stuff, end quote, correct?
Yes.
This guy is dying inside right now.
It's been more than 2 years since that statement at the grand jury. Is your report finished?
Yes, it is.
Did you engage in any of those calculations?
I looked into it. This type of collision I would not be able to use the formulas for this type of collision.
Well, let's talk about those formulas. How would you calculate how far a body at rest would travel after being struck by an object in motion? How would you calculate that?
In pedestrian collisions, I use the Searle throw formula.
Of what formula?
Thorough.
What does that mean?
It's a type of formula that we use for a calculation of post-impact
So
or
that,
speeds for pedestrians.
that includes certain principles of physics to calculate that, right?
What do you mean?
I'm sorry?
What do you mean by certain forms of physics?
There would be physics calculations that would be required to figure out how far a body at rest would move, having been struck by an object in motion.
Right.
That's a basic principle. Of
Yeah, I guess you could say though.
Can you describe for the jurors exactly what calculations you would need to employ to determine how far a body at rest would travel, having been struck by an object in motion?
So in this scenario, in this collision, it's more of a side swipe. So he did not sustain, he did not get enough speed of the vehicle post impact with the vehicle to build calculations. His center of mass was offset from the vehicle. So we would vastly underestimate his speed. So that's why I did not do a formula. If he was more in line with behind the vehicle, he would have been projected forward, and using that projection forward, he would have been able to get more closer to the actual speed of the vehicle during that post-impact travels.
Well, that presumes a couple of things, Paul. That presumes that he was quote unquote sideswiped, right? Presumed by you. You didn't see how he was hit, did you?
Based on the evidence, it appeared to be a side swipe.
That's your opinion.
That's just reading the evidence.
You're saying that the principles of physics as we know them today in modern mathematics is thwarted by a sideswipe?
Objection.
Is that what you're saying?
The calculations that are out there, you can get a speed, it'll just underestimate the speed.
You would have to know what the initial momentum of the object is that's in motion, correct?
Of what object?
The truck.
I would have to know that speed.
Yeah, you'd have to know what the initial momentum is, not speed, momentum. There's a difference,
Okay.
right? Would you agree with that?
No.
You wouldn't have to calculate what the initial momentum is of the object in motion to determine the distance of the body at rest would move?
Well, in that sense, are we talking about trying to find the speed of the vehicle? That's usually what we're trying to do.
Right, okay, well, let's put the speed of the vehicle aside. Let's talk about initial momentum. What's the formula for calculating initial momentum?
There's different types of momentum formulas.
Well, there's actually one type of momentum formula. It's to calculate momentum.
Objection.
Sustained.
To calculate momentum, there's a singular.
So sustained. Ask it differently.
Isn't it true, Trooper Paul, that there is a singular calculation for determining initial momentum? That is P equals M times V, where P is the momentum. You're solving for that. M is mass. You multiply that by velocity. Is that right? Pretty simple.
You wouldn't use that in a pedestrian collision.
Oh, because the pedestrian's somehow magically out of the realm of physics?
Objection.
Sustained.
Is a pedestrian out of the realm of physics and calculations?
No, it's the weight differential between the pedestrian and the vehicle.
So if the vehicle is too heavy and the body is too light, you can't calculate the initial momentum of the vehicle?
Yes.
Got it. Where'd you learn that?
It's in my math class. Since we don't use momentum for vehicle to vehicle.
Math class?
The crash reconstruction classes I have taken.
Got it. Would you need to apply the theory of conservation of momentum in calculating these data?
Do I need to calculate the conservation of momentum?
Calculation, conservation of momentum.
Yes.
You know what that is? There's an equation for that as well, right?
Yes.
You know what that is?
Not off the top of my head, but yes.
Based on the basic principles of physics, is the
Oh,
total
he is
momentum of
nervous.
the collision greater or less than the total momentum after the collision? Total momentum before the collision, is it greater or less than the total
I mean,
momentum?
I just don't understand. You're fucking jury, and you're sitting there watching this guy, and you're listening to him. How do you believe anything that's coming out of his mouth? Now, I'm not a physics major. I could tell you probably some basic stuff about physics, but I'm not deep in it like they're having conversations here. And you listen to this guy talk. How could you believe him? How could you ignore this? It's insane.
After the collision.
And we haven't even got to the
What
pirouette
type of
yet.
collision?
Paul, they're exactly equal in all respects under the principles of physics, right? That's the theory of the conservation of momentum. Momentum doesn't change. It's
Yes.
transferred from one body to another,
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
Why didn't you say that to the jurors?
Objection.
Sustained.
Trooper Paul, if you were qualified to quote, look into all this stuff, you would probably know these answers. Wouldn't you?
Objection.
Sustained.
Are there any other calculations that you need to figure out the stuff that you were talking to me about with the grand jury?
Objection.
Sustained.
How about calculating the final velocity of the objects after the collision? Would that be important?
What objects?
That would be John O'Keefe's body, sir.
My God.
You-
Object
I don't-
that you claim was flying through the air 30 feet.
Okay,
Objection.
sustained.
How about calculating the displacement using kinematics?
Oof.
Be able to do that?
Excuse me.
The displacement of the body?
Oof.
In order to calculate how far the body would move based on the mass of the object striking the body. Could you use displacement using kinematic equations?
So like I said before, the
Lord.
side swipe, he would not have gotten 100% of the vehicle, 100% of the speed of the striking vehicle. It would have vastly underestimated this vehicle. You couldn't hit a person and side swipe them and spin them off to the side and have that and get a speed from those calculations.
So you're saying that the discipline of physics cannot figure out how far John O'Keefe's body would move. But you personally figured out that he would have flown now somewhat, or been projected somewhat 30 feet.
Objection.
Correct?
Sustained.
Are you saying that the principles of physics are incapable of determining with the proper calculations how far John O'Keefe's body would have moved given the collision at issue?
Objection.
Is that what you're saying, Trooper?
No.
Okay, next question.
Well, you just said because it was a sideswipe, all these calculations, these physics calculations are inapplicable, right?
I'm saying it would underestimate the speed, the distance.
The truth is, Trooper Paul, you have no idea what all these physics calculations mean, do you?
Objection.
Sustained.
You've not been trained in physics formally, have you?
Yes.
You have been,
It's incorporated into the classes.
right? You had a few classes that use the word physics, but you haven't been formally trained in physics, have you?
Objection.
Sustained.
You haven't been formally trained in kinematics, correct?
It's in the aspects of all our crash reconstruction classes.
You haven't been formally trained and hold no degrees in biomechanics.
Uh-oh.
I do not have a degree in biomechanics.
In fact, basically what you
We
did in
know
this
ARCA
case
does.
was calculated ignition cycles. And you got those wrong, right?
Objection.
Sustained. Come on, Mr. Jackson, ask the appropriate part of the question and you'll get it.
Oh, get that water.
Let me ask you this. Based on your reconstruction, nearly 2-year investigation, exactly how was that taillight shattered?
Oh, here we go.
How does it tell it? What do
All
you,
right, I'm gonna slow this down because I wanna see this in real time. Here we go. Oh, I love this part.
it gets, so the tail light in this case was shattered when it was struck John O'Keefe's arm.
Exactly what part of his arm?
Based on what I saw for his injuries was from the upper part of his arm down.
Was his arm out? It just struck the arm like a hinge? Was it in front of him? You did the reconstruction?
It looked,
Here's exactly how his body was positioned when he was struck by that.
so it looks like his arm was more kind of like this. If I can try to get that.
You're indicating out by his side, correct?
Yes.
And the taillight would have struck his arm,
Yes.
not his torso.
Yes.
Okay, so the full mass, the full weight of that truck hit him basically at the elbow. Is that right?
No,
Missing his
no.
torso.
So I said it, yeah, from upper part of the arm
Right,
down.
that-
Yeah.
that elbow and the biceps.
I didn't see anything that shows an indication that this lower torso was struck, but
Okay. So his torso,
it's not saying it could not have been a possibility, but I just didn't see anything.
So his torso was spared from being hit, but the arm took the brunt, the full force of the vehicle, correct?
Why wouldn't that? Wait a minute. If he's saying that the full force of that hit, he took it with his arm. Why didn't it rip his fucking arm off? Why didn't it dislocate his shoulder? Why didn't his fucking bone break? It literally would have ripped his fucking arm out of his socket. This is too much.
Like arm and shoulder. Yes.
Okay. And you said he then did a spin,
Oh,
like a sort of a pirouette.
He got spun around possibly the way it struck. It looked like it could have turned around counterclockwise.
Okay. So if he turns around counterclockwise, is he turning around
Here we go.
counterclockwise?
Yes. Initially.
So he gets hit, up the biceps, shoulder area, and down to the forearm
Yes.
by an unbroken taillight, right?
Yes.
In other words, it's nice and smooth. Nothing, no shards of plastic or anything broken at the time that it made contact with his arm, right?
Correct.
Okay. So how did his arm get all cut up?
Because when his arm struck the tail light then cracked. And as the car is driving past him, the taillight could scratch it.
Got it. So he gets hit by the car, not his torso, just the arm. The taillight cracks, and as it passes by, his arm stays with it long enough to get striations, those scratches that you see, those lacerations, abrasions, right?
In a sense, yes.
And at the same time, he does a pirouette and flies 30 feet to his final point of rest.
I don't know if he did a pirouette.
Well,
Unbelievable.
he spun around.
He started rotating counterclockwise. I don't know how far he ran counterclockwise, but he started rotating. According to that, would push him to rotate counterclockwise. Whether or not he went counterclockwise all the way to his back toward the ground,
Oh God,
that's
dude,
it seems like a most likely possibility.
your ship is sunk.
Did you account for the fact that his arm is on a hinge?
Is what? Say again?
Did you account for the fact in the scenario that you just told the jurors that his arm is on a hinge?
On a
Called
hinge.
shoulder?
Okay.
Okay, so arm got hit. Didn't his arm just swing?
I said arm and shoulder area, so his arm could have been considered part of it.
Even if his shoulder got the upper,
Okay.
you're pointing to his upper biceps,
Mhm.
right? There's no injuries on his shoulder, not a single one, not even a bruise, right?
Like I said, it looked like to me it was from up here. I don't know how far I can up back here, but it was up here.
Well,
So
you're the one that talked about his injuries on his arm.
yes.
That's limited to about mid biceps, to about mid forearm,
Unbelievable.
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Yes.
No injuries on the shoulder, no injuries on the torso, no injuries on the ribs, no injuries on the back, correct? Is that right?
Yes.
So your theory is you got hit on the arm, took the brunt of the force from the taillight on the arm,
Look at
stayed
Karen.
with the vehicle long enough for the taillight to explode, basically,
Oh my
shatter.
God.
Then these striations get on his arm, abrasions. Does a pirouette, spin, counterclockwise, flies 30 feet in the air to his point of rest.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have
why
to probably go
did-
faster than that though.
Liza's like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
Actually said he hit his head on the curb.
Now,
I said that's
again,
one of the possibilities of
here we go again. Okay. You are a jury that's sitting there and listening to this shit. And how could you even think that is possible? How could you even think this is possible? You're fucking listening to this. I don't know. I would just be like, this is not adding up. This is literally not adding up. This would be the moment. This would be the moment for me. If everything else was just fucking a cloudy situation to me, and I'm listening to this, I'm like, there's no way. There's just no way. There's no way. I mean, how do you, like, I would go, I don't know. That don't add up. That the arm would just explode that heavy plastic taillight like that into 82 fucking pieces. I don't get it. Piney Woods, thank you so much. Lauren Crime says, love your show. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, let's finish up here and then we're going to wrap up the show. It's getting late and people got to get to bed.
when you look at the roadway, as he gets spun around kind of clockwise, it's a possibility that the curb is there, any blunt force object on the ground, as the ground is pretty blunt.
Well, except in your scenario that you just told us, you flew through the air onto the light dusting of snow, grass, and dirt.
I didn't say through the air.
Say that again.
I didn't say he got thrown through the air.
Okay, I'll use your word. You got projected. Like a
Projected doesn't mean it's not incorporating just throw. Project just means you get pushed forward. There's two parts of that. There's the air, then there's the ground. Like I said earlier, the tumbling, the rolling, whatever that part of the crash would happen. Projecting is just what we call what happens to a pedestrian post impact with a crash.
Okay, so a couple questions. If his arm, elbow, took the brunt,
The answer is not in that bottle.
how do you account for the fact that he didn't suffer a broken bone?
Yeah.
I don't know.
How do you account for the fact that he didn't have a fracture?
Objection.
Sustained.
Of
How
course.
do you account for the fact that he didn't even have a bruise on the arm?
Objection.
That's sustained.
They reproach.
Yes.
Unreal. And that's Bev for you. That is Bev for you. It's the way she operates, and we know how bad it's getting. Now, 2.0 is going to be a battle. Is going to be a battle. All right, where are we at for the defense website? And then Sophie, if Sophie's still here, what do we have for a total on this end? And let's do some numbers. Some numbers before we go. And I want to thank everybody. I think we consistently held almost 800 people through this entire stream. I appreciate you all being here. Lots of love from all the people that came over and watched Mike Young Jerk stream and stayed through this stream all the way through. I appreciate it. So Sophie says she's at a total of 387. So we're at 615 via the website. We're at 387. I'm going to round that up to $400. 400. We'll take 25%. So we're about $100. So look, we made $715 tonight for Karen Reed's defense website. I'm going to go to the website right now before I go off air and make that donation so it's transparent. I'm going to donate right now. We'll put $100 in there. Give me a second. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I would appreciate that. I'm going to put LTL Media, Chat Razor. Whoops. And we're going to do it the date, 3/13/25. Let's see if my credit card should be saved in here. Donated a lot. Let's see. Let's make sure I'm not streaming my credit card number here. Let's do that one. Verified. I think it's that. Let's see. 03. Let's see if we can make it. Come on, baby. Go through. Nope. And it's this one. 488. Nope. Might have to get my card. Hang on. Nope, I think it's going to go through. And from SB, 10-month member, love you, Brian, and LTL family. Thank you so much. Come on, baby. It's spinning. It's a spinny wheel. Let's see if it went through. Yes, we got it. All right. Just to let everybody know, for transparency, here it is. $100 donated to the Karen Reed Defense Fund. All right, everybody. It's a late night. We just got another $100. Look at that. So what are we at? We did 7:15, 8:15, about 8:15. I'm going to be back. I'm going to take the next 2 nights off. Actually, no, tomorrow night. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m., you're going to want to go over and join the Auntie Deb channel because I'm going to get interviewed by Auntie Deb. So I'll be over there being interviewed. That should be a lot of fun. And then Lauren, and then let's see, what's the lineup here? Sunday morning show is going to be with Boston Mike. We're going to take live calls on Sunday. That's Sunday at 10 a.m. And then Lauren will be in here on Monday. We're going to start the show at 5:30 p.m. And that's on the 17th. And that's my birthday. We're going to go through the Jennifer McCabe 227 testimony and have some fun. We're going to have a pizza party. We'll do a little cake. We'll celebrate, hang out, have some fun. All right, everybody. I appreciate y'all. Next show is going to probably be on tomorrow night. Like I said, I'll be on Auntie Deb's channel tomorrow night, 8 p.m. I'm going to take Saturday off. I'll be back here on Sunday morning with Boston Mike. We're going to take live calls, and then we'll be back on Monday. And then I may have I have a special guest that hasn't been on this channel in a while, and I'm going to get them over here next week, and we're going to do a live with them. So Stay tuned. I love all of you. Thank you for all being here tonight. We're going to hit the outro right now. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.